welcome. My name is Melissa Sargent. I'm with Scriptwriters Network, and this is ScriptCon. I'm going to introduce two good friends and two good associates that's working and support Scriptwriters Network as we support their organization as well. And we're each going to be speaking separately. I'm going to speak for about an hour. First, the speaker, Angela Hutchinson, and I'll let her tell you all about herself. And then the next speaker is Londy Madura, and she'll tell you all about herself. So we're going to start with Angela. Please note that this is being recorded. If you have any questions to your Q&A thing, press the button and ask questions. Okay, Angela, take it away.
Yes, all right. So hey guys, hey everybody. Hope everybody's doing good on Saturday. You might see me kind of looking this way because I also have my Instagram going, so I might be kind of going here, kind of in and out. Hey Doug, glad you joined. So anyway, so my name, as Melissa said, is Angela Marie Hutchinson, and I actually used to be the president of Scriptwriters Network, which is how I met Melissa years ago. So let's see. I'm going to give you the really short bio because if I dive in too deep, the whole hour will be spent me talking about myself, which is not why I'm here. I'm here to help you guys with questions and things like that. So I right now, I actually currently work as a social media professor at Loyola Marymount University. And so I teach a class on social media 1 day a week, which is, nice and great for a freelance career. And then I also work as a writer. My last project was a book deal that I signed. It was my first mainstream book deal. It's called Create Your Yes When You Keep Hearing No. And I actually got that book deal from a TEDx talk that I gave like last year, or maybe no, it wasn't last year. Okay, no, because I feel like every year is blurring together. No, the book came out last summer, and then the TEDx talk was in 2018, yeah. So after that talk, at the time I already had a literary agent, and I can kind of walk you through like how I got that, but I had a literary agent at the time, and I shared with him the TEDx talk, and I said, what do you think about this being a book? And he said, I think you could do it. And so when you're trying to get a book deal for a nonfiction book, you don't actually have to have the book written. You just need to have a book proposal. So that's what I worked on. It's like about 30 pages. I actually just did a talk with my organization on how to get a book deal. But anyway, and also I have an email list too if you want to join. It's breakinhollywood.org. At the very bottom, you can always subscribe to my actual email list. We can, get to know about all my events. But so I got that book deal. That was last year, and that was like my first, because before that I had self-published about 6 books. And so that was my very first big hurrah in terms of the book world. On the film side of things, I have produced 2 films and just numerous projects, co-produced actually a series that's on, it's called Diva Diaries. It's a series on the Urban Movie Channel. Actually, I think it's on there as a movie, but we originally shot it as a television series and tried to pitch it around, and it ended up getting purchased as a movie. But anyway, so I co-produced that. That was I think the most recent project. And then prior to that, I had a movie called Hollywood Chaos starring Vanessa Simmons and Ty Lepley and some other, really great actors and actresses. I wrote that film, cast that film, produced that film, raised all the money. It was just under $200,000 in terms of the budget. What I should say is it was under $200,000 to fit within the SAG ultra low budget. That's their bar. You have to the movie has to be made for under $200,000. So we were in that category. So it was a low budget movie. And then I stole that movie, an MG on it, which is like a master, I think. Gosh, what's the term? I think it's a master guarantee, something like that. Is that the term? I think, Melissa, yeah, maybe master guarantee. I think that's the term. Yeah. So got an MG for that, which is really, really rare these days. It's very hard to sell a movie and actually get an MG on it now. Why? Because there's so much content being created. It's so accessible to create movies and to sell them. So it's a lot harder to sell it and get paid up front, like a nice chunk of money that would either hopefully be enough to pay back your investors. And then from there, all the sales that you make from your movie, you're hoping that you can, get the money back after that point. So I sold that film. After that film, I decided I had to do at least one more film because they always say, first time is kind of luck. Second time shows you're a serious filmmaker. So I was like, okay. I mean, I think you're a serious filmmaker if you make one anything, but that's that's how the industry operates. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do another one. So then I did a documentary this time. It's a feature documentary. And it was actually before the whole Me Too movement. And it was, so it was before the whole Me Too movement. And then I want to say it was after Bill Cosby though, like after his thing came out. But it was before the Me Too movement. And so I created a documentary called Hush, which stands for Hollywood's Uncovered Sexual Harassment. And I shot that documentary for super low budget. And so I always encourage people. I know there's a lot of people who feel like you need to have a lot of money to make movies. Documentaries is a great place to start. The one I did was, I mean, I think it was less than like $500. I can't remember because it's been a while, but it was really cheap to do. And so you can make a documentary a certain way if you kind of find your, like constrain your budget by the kind of documentary I did was called a confessional style. So it was kind of like this looks now, right? Women, it was women talking straight to camera about their experience. And that's it. It was like 12 women or however many women. And they were just talking straight to camera. There was no editing of their story. It was like kind of just straight to camera. I mean, we did kind of do cuts and so we edited it, I mean, but when we actually shot it though, they literally did 2 takes and that was it. So we were able to shoot it in like, I think it was like a 2-day process. I think it was a 1 or 2 day process, but it was very short. I had the film done in, I don't know, a matter of weeks. And then I actually had it sold, got it acquired by PBS. So I sold that film to PBS and it aired locally in Los Angeles. And I also did get, when I say sold, I mean, I got paid to do it. Because a lot of times, you'll see a lot of movies popping up on Amazon Prime. And there's a lot of things you can like release movies pretty much yourself, but you don't necessarily make, you're not necessarily getting paid to do it. And so I think that's really important because I feel like as content creators and as filmmakers, it's important that we get paid for what we do. I'm all about making money for what it is we do. And so I really try to focus on that. And so before I started the process of shooting that documentary, what I did was I contacted the KLCS, which was like the local PBS station in Los Angeles, contacted them and tried to find out, what they were looking for and if they would be interested in something like this. And they said they would be interested. I got them to give me a letter of, I guess it was like a letter of support that I drafted. And then I drafted the letter and gave it to them. I think that's another thing to remember. Whenever you're trying to look for like money or you're looking for letters of support or anything, always draft the stuff yourself and then give it to the people to sign off on. Because if you're asking people to like write the letter for you, just no one has time for that. Even someone like myself, like I'm so busy. I'm always happy to do like recommendation letters for my interns or just anyone who's worked with me or just anything. I'm always happy to like help. There's a lot of fellowship programs, writer programs, and sometimes people come to me as like to have a reference and they need a letter of recommendation, and I'm always like, can you write it? And then I'll go in and spruce it up and make it more authentic or whatever. But usually they kind of know like what I would say or what our relationship is. So same thing with the money. It's better for you to just write out what it is you're asking for, your letter of support, give it to them, have their logo and everything on there so they can literally just sign off on it and get it back to you. And that's what happened. And then so I had the letter of support when I was shooting the film, and that was kind of giving me a little bit of leverage to get the women who were on, interested to say like, this is going to be seen somewhere, and they didn't end up getting paid on it because when I did the documentary, everyone was coming in basically just donating their time. And so even though I got paid to actually, when I sold the film, I got paid to sell the film. It wasn't a significant amount. It wasn't anything that was so significant that I could pay them back. So it basically ended up paying back myself. Remember, I shot it for under 500, so that's not a lot. Then there was a lot of marketing things I had to do, like, spending another like $500 on, the marketing and different things like that. So when I say acquired for that particular film, the documentary, it was not a lot of money. So we're not talking like big bucks. But I just say that to say that how many times have we created things and we get $0? So even if someone is like paying you whatever it is, I just think that's an important thing to remember, even if it's a small amount. Now for the film, the narrative film, that was a little bit more significant. But again, because it was made for so much money, no one got rich off of that. Although the actors were paid, the key members of the crew were paid, and things like that. So let me see, I'll hop all over the place. So documentary, 2 documentaries, and now, okay, currently I am, this is like, I think there's 2 big, I guess 3, the 3 most like moments of my career that are just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. For me were my very first writing assignment I got when I pretty much first moved to California. I was working for the Grammys at the time, and one of my mentors knew that I wanted to be a writer. I had worked at the Grammys, and then I think I wasn't working there anymore, I think at the time, but I was still close with my mentor, who I was her assistant for a couple of months. It was just like a short temporary assignment. I stayed in touch with her. Mentors are great. I stayed in touch with her, and she knew I wanted to write. She knew I really wanted to write. And so an opportunity came up where she knew someone who needed a ghostwriter. So this was maybe about, I want to say, gosh, it's so hard to remember, maybe a year after I moved out here. I don't remember enough. I didn't have any kids at the time. So let me see. Yeah. So, and my oldest is 11 now. I have 3 kids. So I can't remember exactly, but I think it was a year after I moved out here, and I got my first writing assignment, my first ghostwriting assignment, and I ended up making $10,000 from that writing assignment, which was amazing. I mean, when I agreed to do it, I didn't even realize that it would be that much money. I was just happy to, like, you know, get work. I'm like, oh, great, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to get paid to, like, write for someone, and I can't say who I'm writing for. This is cool. And the contract was like so long. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a 20-page contract. They're locking you in. Like, if you ever tell anyone you did this, you know, and I'm like, okay, don't worry, my lips are sealed. But I did that. And so when I saw the amount, because we never really talked about money, I knew that the person was extremely wealthy because I'd gone to their house. So I knew it was like gated, and I knew it was like a big deal, but I didn't know like how much I would be paid for it. And when I saw that money, I was like, and I saw the contract, I was like, oh my gosh, what? This is crazy. So that was like one of the biggest moments, to make $10,000 to, you know, ghostwrite it was a children's picture book. So that was like a moment where I was like, okay, breaking into Hollywood is possible. But the one lesson that I learned in that was when I moved out, I'm originally from Chicago. And when I moved out here to Los Angeles, you know, I was really like trying to focus on screenwriting. I was like, I want to be a screenwriter. And my mother always said, you know, a writer is a writer. So you have to be willing to write whatever that is. And so I'm glad that I was open to that, because I wasn't necessarily trying to write children's books per se. It definitely became an interest and something I have done since then, and something that became interesting to me. But it wasn't what I set out. I did not move to Los Angeles to become a children's picture book writer. That wasn't my intent coming out. And so that opportunity, though, making $10,000 for that kind of assignment, made me realize that there's some opportunities out here. So that was really exciting for me. The next big moment, I think, of my career, in terms of like writing, was getting my movie produced, which I spoke on a little bit earlier, Hollywood Chaos, which is also on Amazon Prime. You can watch that, independent movie. And so getting that movie made, you know, writing that script, getting it made. Now, what's interesting about that particular script, and like, actually, no, I'll go off on a tangent with that. Let me stick to the 3. Okay, first is the ghostwriting assignment, 10,000. That was a big thing for me. Second was producing my own feature, and getting that made. It took about 10 years though for that to happen, for me to like get the courage to like make it happen. And then the third big thing is happening. The third would be the book, Create Your Yes, but that's kind of attached to the film, and I'll share with you why, the Create Your Yes book. And so I guess it's 4. So the 4th thing is what I'm doing right now, which is I'm on a paid writing assignment to write a Christmas romantic comedy. It's been a great experience. I finished the first draft a couple of weeks ago. I'm actually working on the second one, and the only reason I'm even doing this event today is because of Melissa. I committed myself prior to, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick to this, but I'm like behind on my deadline to even turn in what I'm supposed to be turning in. So I shouldn't even be technically on here, but I was like, I'm gonna give my hour. I committed to it. I'm gonna stick with it, because this week has been incredibly, oh my gosh, like difficult for me, just on like a personal level. Like, it's just been I know it's been a hard time for a lot of us. And I'm sure anyone who's joining in who, is a mom of young children, I'm married. And so, you have your friends, your family, it's just a lot going on. And the whole like stay at home thing, it's been a lot. This week though, in particular, it's been a lot. So, so I'm hoping I'm hoping to finish tonight to officially be done with the next draft. And so that is great, because I don't know how many of you like those the cheesy Christmas movies. Does anyone watch those? Like, I
do.
Right? I love those. I am obsessed with Hallmark, with Netflix, with Ion Channel. Those are one of my favorites. I love them all. They're so easy. And so funny is whenever like my mom comes to town, she's from Chicago. Whenever she comes to town, she's always like, we'll be like, okay, we're gonna have a movie night. And she's like, we're not even gonna ask Angela what she wants to watch because we already know it's some cheesy Christmas movie. So the fact that I would get an opportunity to write a Christmas movie for a major network I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. And I'm just so grateful for that. And so those are like the highlights, I think, of my career. And I'm currently in that last phase of a highlight. And hopefully I'll have more to share as the years, come. So that is sort of like an overview of, who I am in terms of like bio and, where I am to date. Okay, so do you want me to, Melissa, to kind of dive into some other areas?
Yes, just about about the organization. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what I will share is, I think something that can be useful to share is when I was, so the book deal that I got, right? It's called Create Your Yes When You Keep Hearing No. And the reason why I got that book deal, and the reason why, well, let me back up. The reason why I got the book deal was because of the TEDx talk. And so what happened is, I love TEDx talks. I don't know how many of you watch TED Talks, but I love them. I always think they're so inspiring. They're interesting. And so I was asked to give a TEDx talk, and it was like I had maybe like a week to prepare, and I was thinking about, well, what would I talk about? So the topic of the theme of the TEDx was called Breaking Barriers. And so I was thinking, okay, well, what kind of barriers have I broken? I've certainly broken some as a woman. There's some barriers I've broken as a Black woman, as a Black person, as a mom. I mean, as a wife, there's barriers that you're breaking, in your career in different capacities. And so I was like, well, what's something that everybody in this whole world can relate to? And I was like, ooh, rejection. That is something that, seriously, no matter who you are, because I do a lot of career coaching and I work with, some celebrities, and I've done a lot of casting. And so even like there are so many actors who don't get a role, not because they aren't good or aren't talented, but it's just for whatever the reason is, right? And so they do get rejected. Everybody gets rejected. We had an event with Breaking Hollywood. We had an event with J.J. Abrams, one of his like development people, and they were talking about when they go to pitch meetings, and they were like, it's so crazy that he gets rejected too. Like not everyone wants to buy J.J. Abrams' next movie. You know what I mean? So basically, or next television show. So everyone, no matter who you are, gets rejected in some capacity. And obviously the rejection may not hit as hard depending on what level you are in your career, but everyone gets rejected. And so I decided to create that talk based on the idea of rejection and learning how to redirect the rejection that you're getting in life. And that's something that's been really helpful to me, because you're always going to face rejection, but it's about not just how you handle it. Because I know in life we talk about like how you handle direction or rejection, how you deal with it. But I think it's important to understand how to redirect it, how to actually take the rejection and then take it and transition it into something else. And so in the book, I share the story about my script, Hollywood Chaos, and how originally I wrote the movie. When I first moved out here from Chicago, I drove out here. At the time I had a 1994 Geo Tracker at the time. I literally drove cross country from Chicago to here by myself, over like a 24-hour, like a 36-hour period, no sleep, literally just drove. After like 24 hours, I stopped and rest, and then I kept going the rest of the way. And so I had that script in the back seat of my Geo Tracker at the time. And so when I got here, I was doing everything I could to like get that script made. I was, networking and let me just say hi to some of the folks on here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So I was networking and, I was joining organizations like Scriptwriters Network, right? I was doing what you're supposed to be doing in order to get ahead. And what ended up happening is I was making some strides, and I was definitely meeting some very important people, and things were happening, but I just felt like I wasn't getting to where I needed to go. And so I think I had seen another a Breaking Into Hollywood member, which is an organization that I started. It was a Breaking Into Hollywood member that I had seen their movie, and it was like just hearing their story or how they did the film. I was like, you know what? I think I can do this movie. And then I got the courage to kind of push forward with trying to make the movie happen, and to set a date for it, started telling people about it, started raising the money. And eventually in a couple of months, in like 6 months, I think we were in pre-production and so forth. And I think the thing that has been, I think the thing that's useful to remember is that everyone has like these rock bottom periods in your life, whether they be personal right? Whether they be professional, you're going to experience some level of it. If you aren't experiencing some level of it, I probably, my personal point of view is that maybe you aren't living your fullest life. Maybe you're not trying to like pursue, you know, those dreams that are really inside. Maybe you are not really, you know, diving into life in a way that it will allow you to kind of knock you down. Because I think that I say that pretty confidently because a lot of the career clients that I do coaching for, I've noticed that those people who are pushing forward and are trying to make things happen, they keep getting knocked down. They keep getting knocked down because that's part of of how you get to success, right? It's sort of like the rejection and kind of learning how to break through that. But the thing that I think is really important to remember is that there's this thing that, you know, if you keep getting rejected, right, that eventually, oh, I think it just logged me right on out. Hold on a second. I want to make sure I get them back in. Hold on a second. Okay. Hold on a second. Hope you guys got your water, your tea. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. So what was I saying? Again, okay. So there's like this idea that, you know, if you keep hearing no over and over again, that eventually your yes will come. There's just that's just like an idea that we have kind of been trained to think. And I think there's some truth to that. I definitely think there's some truth to, you know, if you keep hearing no over and over again, there is some truth that eventually, you know, a yes can come. But I think that sometimes the yes may not come. So you can keep getting rejected over and over again, and it doesn't mean your yes is going to come. Sometimes you literally have to create it. And so you have to figure out, you know, are you getting a yes that is eventually going to come, or are you going to have to create it? And I got to a place in my career where I felt like, hey, Carrie, I got to a place in my career where I felt like I wasn't able to move forward. I wasn't getting what I wanted. And so I had to have a real sit down moment with self and say, are you going to keep on, you know, getting these no's over and over and over again? Or are you going to make something happen for yourself? And what does that actually mean? Because we talk about like, you know, making things happen, but what does that actually mean? Yes, I work in Hollywood. Someone said, do I work in Hollywood? Yes, I work in Hollywood. I'm a screenwriter. I'm working on a Christmas movie for a television network that I can't really talk about, but it's a Christmas, one of those cheesy Christmas romantic comedies. And I've also worked as a talent agent and casting director, but primarily right now I'm focusing on my career as a writer and also a social media professor. So, okay, so let me get back to the point. Okay, so with the movie Hollywood Chaos, after hearing no over and over and over again, I had gotten to that space where I was like, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And then I, you know, got a good core group of people on board who also wanted to make a movie, you know, and they wanted to make it happen too. And I think that's the other thing to remember is that in our entertainment industry, everything is about collaboration. You have to find people you trust. Like one of my friends, Kiri's on, you have to find people you trust in this business because the business will rip you to pieces. You know, you won't even know who you are if you don't find someone you can like talk to, someone you can trust that understands the business, and also someone that is not necessarily, I mean, the business is full of competition, but there's enough, but someone who understands is enough for everybody. Some people, you know, are trying to get what you're getting, you know. One of the things with social media, I know I've talked with a writer friend of mine who works on a major television network as a writer in the staff room. And I'm always like, how come you don't promote yourself enough? You know, you should promote what you're doing. And she's like, she doesn't want to promote herself too much because when you do that, there's a lot of competition. People are trying to get into your staff room, which is fine. You want to definitely help where you can, but you can't always help everyone, right? And so you want to find a good group of people that understand that competition does exist, but that there's enough for everybody. And so I love having people like that in my life that also, you know, sort of live by that as well. What else can I share? Okay, so do you want me to talk about breaking into Hollywood a little bit?
Yeah, talk about all your stuff.
Okay.
That's what you're, yeah.
So breaking into Hollywood. So I started breaking into Hollywood in 2005 because I basically got to a place in my career where I felt like I had hit rock bottom. I felt like, I was doing everything right. I was meeting people. And when I say doing everything right, I literally mean like I was meeting with like top entertainment executives, people who could greenlight films. I mean, I met with someone who was like on the greenlight committee at Lionsgate. I mean, I was definitely like meeting with people, having people read my scripts and things like that. I was putting myself out there. I was trying to get an agent, trying to get a manager. I was trying to do everything you could do, and nothing was really happening. And so I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I just feel like I don't know what to do. And she was like, well, what are you doing to give back? And I was like, oh, I give back at my church. I do mentoring. I do a lot of things to give back in my community. And she asked me, well, what are you doing to give back in the exact area where you want to be successful, meaning the entertainment industry? And at that time, I wasn't doing anything to give back in the entertainment industry. And so I thought about that. And then that's what made me start my organization, Breaking into Hollywood. And so since then, we've been having speakers come through over the years. We just had a couple of weeks ago, we had a writer from Queen Sugar. We have coming up a talent manager. I can't remember where he's from, but we definitely have had a lot of vice presidents from pretty much every single like network, film studio, like everywhere. ICM, William Morris, CAA. We've had speakers from every single agency come and speak to Breaking in Hollywood, which is a great organization about collaborating and just trying to connect you with people that can help you. But most importantly is when you join an organization is trying to get the information that you can get so that you can, position yourself in a better place. Because I think the more information you have, the more useful it can be. And to give you an example of what I mean by that, like in terms of like having information is, I remember like meeting a lot of different executives, and it seemed like there was this like consensus among writers that like you needed to have an agent. Everyone, like I would go places, they'd be like, okay, the way you get your script into someone's hands is you have to have an agent. I was like, oh, okay, so I have to have an agent. And then I tried to get an agent, as I tried to get a literary agent, and then it never could happen. I just couldn't get one. Maybe they would ask to read the script, they didn't like it. With my books, it would kind of be here and there, but nothing ever really happened. So I was like, okay, so if I need an agent but I don't have one, I said, what if I'm kind of like my own agent? Like, what if I just reach out to people? So sort of the defining moment in my career as a screenwriter, where I sort of just like unleashed myself and just realized like, oh my gosh, I can just do this. Like, I don't need an agent or manager, was I was reading The Hollywood Reporter. And it was when Tyler Perry's first movie had just come out, Diary of a Mad Black Woman had just come out, and they were saying how it was doing so well, and they didn't expect it to do as well as it was doing. So in the article that was written, there was a quote from the vice president at Lionsgate that said that they were looking for more films just like it because this one did so well. And I was thinking, I have a film kind of like it. It wasn't really like it, but from some perspective, it's like an ensemble piece. It was an African-American cast primarily. And so from some components of it was like it, but it wasn't really like it. But, I thought, so I emailed him. And how did I find his email? I just Googled and was like, okay, I mean, it's pretty easy to find any executive's email, especially now. Back then, LinkedIn wasn't even like a big thing, but now you can go on LinkedIn, you can research people's positions. And then in terms of like finding their actual email address, you just have to find like the PR department's email address. So if you find like press releases from MGM or whoever you're trying to talk to, whatever business, if it's funding whoever you're trying to talk to, you can find someone's email. You find the PR person, and then you just kind of figure out if it's first name, last name, or first initial or whatever, right? I figured it out. I sent him an email, the one who was quoted, and I said, hey, I didn't even act like he knew me or didn't know me. I just said, hi, I saw your quote in the Hollywood Reporter about looking for more films just like it. I have something. Would you like to see it? It was really simple. As if I didn't go into detail. And it's so long ago, because maybe I did say something like, oh, I'm a writer. Maybe I gave more description, because I have not read that email in years, but I certainly didn't give like some long thing. I think I was really short and just getting straight to the point. And in seconds, he actually responded to me. And I was like, wait a minute, did the Lionsgate VP just respond to me? And then did he just CC his entire team? Wait a second. Before I know it, they were like, oh, you can send in your script. You had to sign a release form, which I know people had told me, don't sign a release form, because if you sign a release form, you give away all your rights if they steal your idea or whatever. I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna be concerned about that. I'm just gonna go ahead and, sign the release form. And so, so I did. So I signed the release form, sent the script back in, or sent the script in, and they got back to me in like a day. That never happens. That's another thing that's so important that I've also learned. Pretty much any opportunity that I've ever gotten has happened fast. Like any opportunity that was really big and meaningful to me didn't take a lot of time. I'm not saying that's for everyone's, journey, because each of us breaking into Hollywood and breaking into any industry is different for everybody. Everyone's journey is so different. I'm just saying from my personal experience, if I don't hear back from someone in like a day, I already know, like, I'm like, it's not happening. And if it does happen, great. I just haven't seen it. Usually I kind of like, it's moved on. Now there's some times when it has happened, but I think it's great to get in the habit of kind of moving on, because you create that space in your head to allow you to focus on the next thing or the next stride you want to try to take of who you want to contact next. If you're waiting thinking, oh, I contacted them last week, they might email me back, or we're kind of going back and forth, or they're, all of that is just like clouding your headspace and you can't free it. If you know the opportunity is moved on and they say no to you, if you basically say, you know what, they said no, you push it aside, you'll be able to kind of keep focusing. Now, some people could feel like, well, you might be losing opportunities, and, you might. I'm just willing to take that shot. For me, it works for me. So anyway, they responded right away. They read the script. They got back to me in a day. They said they said that my script wasn't something that they thought was for them, but they asked to take a meeting with me. And so I got to meet with one of the development executives who just incredibly gave me such great information that I had no idea about the green light committee at each studio, how many people there are, what they physically look like, how it's so difficult to get certain movies in. And she just ran down like a list of things, of how difficult it was for particularly diverse stories to happen, right? And so because a lot of the people who can greenlight a film are not always understanding those voices, not that they don't appreciate those voices, they maybe aren't exposed to them, or that's not in their space, which is why in that article, here's the thing, in that article, when they say they're looking for more movies like that, why did he have to say that? I mean, why did that vice president have to say that? He said that because in his sphere, he didn't have any. In his sphere, he didn't know any Black writers, obviously, right? At that time, or he didn't, the writers, maybe he didn't think that they were interested in that kind of material, maybe, right? Let's say he did know some, because I don't know what he did or did not know, but I'm just assuming that. And so if you just make some assumptions, even if they're wrong, you can move forward based on those assumptions. It allows you to move forward. Because sometimes, in a lot of career coaching that I do, we get so caught up. We're like, what if this, what if that? We're like trying to think of all these ideas of like, what if this, what if that, instead of just assuming. Sometimes you do have to make an assumption and make a decision, and then just like, this is what I'm going to believe about this. Even if it's wrong, it's okay to believe something wrong about something until you're told otherwise, until you understand otherwise. But you can't get in this like bad headspace where you're just like confused about what to do. Sometimes you just have to make a decision. We were talking a couple days ago about, is it better to self-publish or wait out on a mainstream book deal like I got? It depends, right, on who you are and what you're looking to do. It might be helpful to have a self-published book. It might be helpful to have a book deal. It just depends. But eventually you have to make a decision. And then when you make that decision, you got to stick with it and you just got to go for it. You can't like wait around to try to, thinking you're going to get a magical answer. At some point you have to just go. So when I got to meet with her, the executive at Lionsgate, when I met with her, we talked about my script. She gave me some feedback, but really what was most valuable though was just the industry insight information that I didn't have access to, because I didn't work in the industry. Now I have worked for like Warner Brothers, and I worked for MGM, I worked for the Grammys, but I worked I didn't work in the film side of things. I primarily worked in the television side. So I was at Warner Brothers Television, working as an assistant to like the senior vice president of development. And then when I was at MGM, similarly, same thing. I was working on the television, like editorial, like home entertainment side. So it's like a completely different thing than like the development of products. So, but what I learned from that vice president at Lionsgate was that, okay, this moment that I'm sitting down with her, I'll never forget it, because we were sitting in the MTV cafeteria, because their office is in Santa Monica and they have a shared cafeteria with like Lionsgate, MTV, and so forth. And so we're sitting there, and I was just thinking like, gosh, this moment I'm having with this executive would not have happened had I not sent that email based on an article that I read in the Hollywood Reporter. And so how many times do we hear stories like that? I wasn't hearing them. I'm not saying they didn't exist, but I didn't hear a story like that. I always heard that you had to have an agent, you had to have a manager, and that's how you got your stuff made. And so I was like, okay. And I was going down that path, and that path was not happening for me. And so I made that decision. And since that moment, that has been a beacon of light for me, because, you know, now it's just like whoever I feel like I can contact anybody. It's like the world is at my fingertips. Like whoever I want to contact, I can contact. Not to say that anyone's going to respond to you, but pretty much you can at least try. And so I just want to encourage people to make sure that you realize that that's something that you can do. You can reach out to people, and you don't have to wait to have an agent or a manager. But I know that sometimes that is helpful to understand how to get an agent or manager. So I'll kind of talk to that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's great. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'll speak on that, like how to get an agent or manager. So I'll speak from the writing perspective, because this is a scriptwriters network, you know, ScriptCon. So in terms of like getting representation, I am not represented as a screenwriter. So I have a literary agent as a author for books. Now my agent, over time, we've kind of, you know, grown and developed a relationship. And so he does have some relationship with film and TV. And there's some projects that he's been able to try to get meetings or take a look at for me on my behalf in the film and TV space. But that is primarily not his role, in which he, you know, signed me on for. And so, but I can still speak to how to get signed as with the literary agent on the film TV side. And if you're interested in books, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can get a literary agent. So networking is probably the best. He always says that he finds clients. It's usually from networking. It's meeting people face to face. With Zoom, it's even more easy, because there's a lot of things happening online. There's a lot of opportunities for you to meet people online in different meetings and things like that in small groups. So I definitely encourage networking, even if it's digitally. And then the other way is there's some different like resources like Inktipp that are helpful, or a virtual pitch fest in particular, I think is really helpful, because virtual pitch fest, it is like a paid service, but it's pretty reasonable. And what you can do on there is it lists like literary agents and managers that are looking for material. And so, you know, you can go on there and you can use it even as a research, you know, hub, as a place to look at different agents and managers. So that's one way. The other way is looking up like the Hollywood Reporter, I forget, what do they call it? Like the young people, like the top 25 or something, you know, like under 30 or something, you know, whatever it's called. Like,
I know what you're saying, and I can't think of it. And I just
can't think of the name. Yeah, I can't think of the name, but you know, it's like the top, like Hollywood Reporter Game Changers under 30 or something. Yeah. So look at those articles, and they'll have about 50 people. And they'll have literary agents and literary managers, and contact those people who are speaking at different conferences, even if it's not this year. Look at like 2019, look at who spoke at Sundance, who spoke at these top different film festivals, Santa Barbara Film Festival, whatever it is. Look at these film festivals and see who's been speaking, and use that as a resource, because a lot of times those literary agents, and this goes for talent agents too, for actors, for people wanting to be actors as well, but look at those and see who those agents and managers that are out there, that are actually putting themselves out there, often are more open people in general. And so they might be more open. By that, I just mean they might be more open into allowing you to contact them. Because even with Breaking to Hollywood, when we try to get speakers, and I'm sure you face this too, Melissa, when you're trying to get speakers, sometimes they're like, oh, it's not really my thing. I'm not really comfortable in front of people, you know? And so that's a certain personality trait. But a lot of those people who are out there, they sometimes are just more comfortable receiving a random email from a person, just on a personality level. So, and that's what finding an agent is about, is finding someone whose personality you click well with, because over time you're going to have a working relationship, and they need to kind of have an understanding of how you work as a writer and how they work, and how you guys can work together to achieve whatever the specific purpose is. But I will say, in terms of getting a representation, in terms of if you're a writer and you're wanting to get representation for film scripts or TV scripts, what you would do is, like I said, look into Virtual Pitch Fest, look online, Google, information, and trying to figure out who's speaking at different festivals. And then third is query. And I think that a lot of people, again, have told me queries don't work. People have told me again and again that queries do not work. And that is so not true. They do work. My literary agent signed me from a query. He did not know me from Adam's apple. As a matter of fact, the literary agent that I signed with, I was one of these people that have sent out, I have sent probably over, well over 100 queries. I probably, in my career, I think I probably sent maybe like at least 200, maybe even 500. Like, I don't know. It's been a lot. I've sent a lot of queries in my lifetime. And before I got signed, I'm going to say that the queries I was sending originally were okay. Like, they were okay. So I think if you can take a class, or like with the Scriptwriters Network, if they offer any kind of workshopping opportunities or whatever on how to write a great query, I think those are really helpful to take. Or just Googling and researching. There's a lot of YouTube videos on writing a query. So understanding how to write a query, because when I got signed, when I wrote the query, I'll never forget that evening, I had drafted my queries, and then I sent about 10 or 15 of them. And by the morning, when I woke up, I had responses almost from like all of them, and they were requesting the material. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I had spent a lot of time. It wasn't really that interesting. What it was is that I had understood how to write a query. I understood how to connect two things. I understood how to market myself, how to convey who I am and what I have. And then two, which is the most important, is how what I have and who I am is great for you. Because you have to know who it is you're querying. You have to understand who is that agent, who is that manager. And by understanding who they are as a person, I'm not even talking about professionally, but understanding who they are, what kind of clients do they represent, you can come at them in a certain way so that you can kind of connect to them. And I think that that's what they kind of got back. And one of the agents actually said to me, you know, I really, you know what, she even said, I'm not even signing any clients right now, but you seem like someone who would even be great as a friend. Send me your stuff, send me your script. I want to read it, you know? And so she didn't end up doing it. I mean, she ended up saying like it wasn't right, and I needed to, it wasn't something she could sell. She said she thought I was a good writer, but it wasn't something she could sell at this time, which is the other thing we could talk about, is like in terms of like writing. So when you're trying to sell a script, you know, it's really about finding something commercially viable that is sellable. And agents are always looking for, agents are essentially, hey, Cassandra, I think Cassandra's on there. Agents, or maybe that's her mom, I can't remember. But so agents are always looking for stuff they can sell. Literary managers are more okay with, they're more okay with like developing your career. But a literary agent, they want to know, can they sell it? What you have basically with some edits or whatever, can they sell it? And that's what they're essentially wanting to know. And so I think when it comes to that, you want to make sure that you kind of have some idea what the marketplace is to see if your idea is commercially viable and if it's a good fit for that particular agent. And so that's why websites like Virtual Pitch Fest are useful, because if you look at a site like Virtual Pitch Fest, it's really useful to have it because it'll tell you what they're looking for. And so and it'll say like Christmas movie, right? So if you're sending a horror movie to someone who's looking for a Christmas movie, I mean, they're not going to be interested. And that's a lot of times what happens. What a lot of times is happening is someone is you're querying the wrong person for you. And what happens that is really great is when you understand how to query correctly and you understand who you're querying, you will form sometimes lifelong relationships. Professional relationships, not that they're going to be your buddy, but I have like I'll give you an example. I have like a from afar publishing mentor at, is she at Penguin? I think it's Penguin Random House. So she's at like one of the top 5 publishing companies, right? And I just met her, you know, through me pitching her my books. And she had read my book proposals, and she actually sent me back feedback. On top of that, because she said, I don't sell this. Like the department I'm in, you know, I sent it over to the department that would be interested, and they said that your platform was too small, but I think you're a strong writer, so I'm going to help you. And so she gave me all this advice, all this information. She even gave me agents information and contact information on who to contact. And I'm like, who does that? That's because I knew who she was. I had done my research on her. I had read an article on how she's so passionate about helping writers. So when I sent her my query, I was trying to appeal to that, letting her know like how long I've been working in this business and what I'm doing and what I'm about. And then letting that, you know, kind of form itself. You can't force it. You can't force it. So if it works, it works. And it did in that case. So I've done that multiple times. So the stories I'm sharing aren't like happening all the time, right? 24/7. But of the 10, it might be 2 of 10 that are happening. And so I just think that's important, that you have a lot, the ball oftentimes is always in your court, I like to say, in terms of your career as a writer, as an actor, as a content creator, filmmaker, director, producer. I feel like you have a lot more control than you realize. And that a lot of times the things that you think you need, you might actually need, or they could be useful, but you can still move forward without them. So it's certainly useful, like with all that I'm saying, right? I'm saying you don't need an agent or manager, because I've seen examples, right, where I was able to meet with the Lionsgate executive and I didn't need to have an agent to meet with them, right? So on one end, that was true. On the other end, I didn't benefit from that monetarily. Like I didn't get a deal. They did not buy my script, right? On the other end, the book deal that I did get in advance for, and something that monetarily meant something to me, I did have an agent when I got that deal, just so happened, right? And so I'm not saying that agents are not useful, because they totally are, but you can have an agent that isn't useful too. I know a lot of times I talk with many of my actor friends who have agents and they are not always that useful. So, and writers too, you can have an agent or manager that isn't useful for you right now, not in your career. It might not be because of them. It might be because of the market. There's other factors that play into that. But I think that if you take it, again, remember I talked about how important it is to just like accept, to like make a decision about something and just accept it, make an assumption. Sometimes you have to make an assumption and move forward with that. And so if you make the assumption that I don't need an agent, I can do this, then you will unleash yourself. And it took me a lot to get to that point where I realized that. I definitely had a lot of sort of assistance along the way. I was meeting with, I remember emailing 50 Cent's business manager. He also like manages a lot of his like literary, projects. And so I was like, I had read about him and how he helps people and stuff. And so I said, let me reach out. So I sent him an email and we kind of went back and forth with some emails. And then I maybe was sending a follow-up email like months later, and he was like, oh, actually I'm going to be in LA. You can come to this club, to this club I'm going to be. I can, get you invite VIP. And I was thinking, oh, I don't really want to go to a club VIP. Like, no, I'm trying to like, we need to focus on like business. Like, this is not like, I can't be in the loud club trying to tell you what I'm trying to tell you. So I was like, is there somewhere else we can meet just like quiet, just so I can get, he's like, well, you can come to the hotel. And I'm like, well, okay. And I guess he realized like how that sounded. So he was like, just like in the lobby. And I was like, cool. Okay, whatever. So went to the hotel, met in the lobby, really cool guy, like super great. And he's like, I only got a few minutes, but shoot, what's up? And sat down with him. And I had all my books that I had self-published. And I had like magazines, because I also was editor-in-chief of a magazine called Hollywood and Vine. And I did that for maybe like 4 years. I had launched a magazine because I felt like a lot of the magazines that were out, like the print hard copy magazines, were always focusing on already stars. And so the purpose of Hollywood and Vine was to feature, new stars and people that were rising stars. So I brought like issues of that magazine, laid it out. And again, this is 50 Cent's business manager, right? And so I showed him everything. He was, he was looking, he was a nice guy. He was just kind of looking through everything. He was just like looking through like, okay, wow. He's like, you did all this like by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, let me tell you something. He said, I want you to hear me loud and clear. And I was like, okay. And he was like, you do not need a manager. You don't need a manager or agent. You need to just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, okay. He said, I want you to know that you're smarter than 50 Cent's, right? You're prettier than 50 Cent's, but I don't know that you're working as hard as 50 Cent's. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, no, I work as hard as 50. What are you talking about? I work very hard. Then he was like, I was just listening. I didn't say that in my head. I was going there in my head, but I didn't actually say that. I was kind of like smiling, like, okay, And he said, let me explain why. He asked me, he said, how long did it take you to write this book, for example, which was my book. Do I have? No, I don't have my book. I thought I was supposed to, anyway, so my book, Breaking Hollywood, he said, how long did it take you to write this book I had, which was it's like a memoir, but also like a self-help, how to break into the business, which I encourage you to get on Amazon, Breaking Hollywood. So he said, how long did it take you to write this book? And I said, it took me about a year. And he said, do you know how long it takes 50 Cent's to write a song, a hit song? And I was like, no, I don't know. He's like, 1 day. So while you're spending your year doing your book and he's spending 1 day writing hit songs, and not to say that he's doing that every day, all day, I got his point, right? He said, what I want you to think about is how you can make shorter content, smaller, and just speed. Like he said, it seems like you're able to do a lot. So this is good. So just scale it back to do smaller projects and do them fast and keep doing it over and over and over again. And I promise you, you are going to hit and get where you want to go, but you don't need me and you don't need anyone else. So don't dare send another email looking for representation for a manager. You don't need a manager. No one is going to represent you better than you. And he said, he doesn't say that to everybody, but he said, I'm seeing something in you and I don't think you need that. So hear what I'm saying. And that's my advice. And I'm out. And he was like, drop the mic. And then, it was like a 20-minute meeting. And it was like a very one of those moments where you just go like, okay, thank you, God, for this moment. And I'm trying to process what 50 Cent's business manager just said to me, you know, and it was very useful. And not that I don't follow 50 Cent's like whole career path. And at the time he didn't have Power, wasn't out. So I don't think at the time he had created that show. I don't know, like what I say is, I don't know that it had not aired. I don't know in terms of like deals where he was or anything like that. But he wasn't really known as the producer, the TV producer that he's known today, because this was a couple years ago. So this was before that point. He might have been in development and working on those things in development and then kind of came out. And, you know, so you never know like where things start in the development process. But on top of 50 Cent, I just use him as an example because he has other clients too that he was working with. And so that was a really just a moment in my career where I was like, okay, I don't need a manager. And so what I did when I left that hotel, when I left that meeting, I accepted that. I took the assumption, Angela, you do not need a manager. Move forward and do you, right? And so that could be wrong. Like if I kept pushing, trying to get an agent or a manager, perhaps there would have been another road for me. Perhaps eventually someone would have signed me. But the facts are is that I had already been doing that for a lot of time. I was trying to get an agent manager. It wasn't happening. So it's almost like the universe or God, however you want to say it, came to me and said, stop trying to do that and just focus on doing you. And that is what happened. And the Christmas romantic comedy that I have been hired to write as a writing assignment, which is an amazing opportunity. I mean, this is something that would typically come from getting an agent or manager. Like you would have an agent or manager to get this. This came from networking, pure networking. I had met someone. I wanted to stay in touch with the person. I was like, oh, you know, I knew they did a lot of Christmas stuff. And I said, hey, I have this Christmas script that I had written that was like a part 2 to my Hollywood Chaos. I had written a Christmas movie called Christmas Chaos. And so I was like, you know, would you want to read the script? And then I sent it. Nothing really happened. Things months later, I kind of did a follow-up based on some other things happening that just kind of encouraged me to follow up. And the email I got back was, you know what, I'm not interested in your script, but I might have a writing assignment. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh, wait, what? Would you be interested? And I was like, of course. And so, you know, great opportunity, great financial opportunity, just a great opportunity. Because, you know, now with this, actually with my first film, I could have joined the Writers Guild. So with this, I technically could too, but I'm not going to because I'm really about doing independent stuff for me. But needless to say, it's a great opportunity, right? And so that came, and I'm still currently not represented as a screenwriter, and I'm fine. Like I mean, and I could pursue it. Even like some friends of mine were like, "Why don't you use this to like catapult to try to get a literary manager or literary agent in the screen? Like maybe you could take this and go further." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." Something in me is like, stick with that advice that you were told until I feel a different shift, and like I'll move when I feel that shift that like I need to do that. But right now I feel like I have so many other things on my plate with books and stuff that I'm focused on with my literary agent on the book side. So I hope that this information was helpful in terms of breaking into the business. I'm always pretty much easily accessible. My email is angela@breakingintohollywood.org. Again, that's Angela@breakinginhollywood.org. Thanks for all you guys that came in over here on Instagram. So appreciate you guys tuning in. But I'm available in terms of email. It might take me a beat to get back to you. But I will say, if you do plan on reaching out to me and you have questions, like just drop me your question, because if I get a lot of like information, it's hard for me. I just kind of will put it off. I'll be like, wait, it's too much. So just if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it, but just get straight to the question, and I will be happy to, hopefully it can be a resource for you.
Okay, and Angela, and before Lonnie comes on, Angela, just say the name of your organizations again, and then
So the organization is called Breaking Into Hollywood, is the organization I founded, breakingintohollywood.org. And my email is Angela@breakingintohollywood.org. And if you want to buy my book, my latest book, I do have that. Let me show you. My Create Your Yes book, When You Keep Hearing No, it's available on Amazon. And then the TEDx talk is actually on YouTube. So you can watch that for free. And it's a short one. It's like 13 minutes. So it's definitely something I think that I hope that will inspire you to, when you keep hearing your no, to create your own yes too.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then just want to let everybody know I adore Angela. When we had time, we would go and meet and you know, catch up and stuff. She helps me, and you know, so I just adore her. So I'm so thankful. Thank you, Angela, for being a part of this. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye to Angela, right? And then now we're gonna bring, oh, there's a question. Hold on, Angela, before you go.
Oh, okay.
There's a question. Oh, Desiree is saying thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
Desiree.
oh yes, you're welcome. You are
Does
very
any,
welcome.
does anyone have any quick questions for Angela? Just like one or two quick questions other than,
If you have any questions, I'm happy to ask or answer.
okay. All right, so no one's typing fast. Okay, so Angela, if you have to
Okay,
go, thank you. Really appreciate it.
of course.
Thank
Okay.
you. Talk to you later. Okay. All right, everyone, thank you so much. And then now for the next person that I adore, her name is Lonnie Madura. And I just, these two ladies are very inspiring. They've created their own yes. They both are doing their thing, and I really appreciate them both for being a part of my life. So I'm going to bring on Londy. Londy, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am kind of following in Angela's footsteps, so I might be looking both places as well because I am on Instagram Live too. But I am so excited to be a part of Scriptwriters Network ScriptCon. I think this is totally awesome that you are doing this, Melissa. So yes, my name is Londy Maduro. I am a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, and I have a production company called Blue Child Entertainment. We focus on photography and videography. So on the business side, I do shoot a lot of commercials, do a lot of music videos. Right now, what's hot is online learning. Since everyone's kind of stuck at home, everyone wants professional online learning. And also, of course, films. I have been hired quite a bit to direct other people's films that they wrote. So I'm familiar with kind of taking someone's vision and then bringing it to the screen visually. And then I also have an organization called Women of Color Filmmakers, where we try to encourage female filmmakers to get their stories out. And we offer a lot of kind of educational services and guest speakers to keep everyone encouraged about creating their films. We do things like script to screen, where we break down scripts, and we look at studio films actually, and we look at scenes from the studio films, and then we look how they actually brought it to life. So we do a lot of things like that to just kind of get our minds on that creative process, as well as the business side. So a little bit about my story. So I actually started on the other side of the screen. I started as a model and an actress, and I got tired of trying to maintain a size 0 because I like to eat. So I decided to go to photography school and just learn, you know, lighting and all that good stuff. And while in photography school, I realized that the best way for me to learn was to do, matter of fact, one of my instructors even said to me, I can teach you all day the theories of lighting and composition, but until you get out there and do it, it's not going to make sense to you. And I totally agreed with that. So I dropped out of photography school and, but started my own business as a, with my production company, initially just doing photography. And then, you know, was still acting, but was finding that, you know, I hated auditioning. I'm not gonna lie, that is not my favorite thing. And I got tired of being told I wasn't enough in certain aspects. Oh, we like you, but you know, maybe you're too this, or you look too much like something we already have, or just all those things that put you as an artist in your head like, oh my gosh, it makes you sick. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start writing my own stuff. So as you see, there's a pattern there. I'm the type of person, if someone tells me I can't do something, or someone tells me, then I'm gonna figure out a way to do it myself. So I started writing and decided to write my first script. Didn't know what I was doing. It was absolutely horrible as far as format, but the story was good because I'd always been in the creative writing process. So we shot that first script. I hired people who knew what they were doing, even though I didn't. So I wrote my first script, and I hired a friend who was a director, who actually is an awesome acting coach, Jamal McNeil. He's fabulous. And he was directing a lot of plays at the time, and I had him come on and direct my first movie. And then I hired people straight out of film school to shoot it. So at least my first film looked great, and Jamal understood that I didn't know format, and he took my film and made it into something beautiful. So I'm proud that my first project, you know, they'll say, oh, your first project is going to be horrible, it's going to be hideous, but that was not the case for me. I actually surrounded myself around people who knew what the hell they were doing, even though I didn't. But from there, I realized I had a passion for filmmaking and for the creative process and for development. And I understood how to manage all of these things and put them into an element. Even though I didn't know a lot, I understood the process. And so from there, I started going on to produce and direct various projects. And one thing I will say in directing a lot of independent projects is a lot of times people have these great story ideas, but they haven't thought about how they're going to make them. So they write these awesome scripts, but they haven't taken the time to develop in post and pre-production to really make that film look the way that it needs to, translating from the page to the screen. So that's why I started my group, Women of Color Filmmakers, to really help that process, because there seems to be sometimes a disconnect there. And so I wanted to be able to help people, okay, now you got this beautiful script, you spent all this time, you know, taking classes, taking workshops, doing this, doing that. Let's not make it lose its luster when it gets to the screen. So that's kind of why I kind of went in the direction of Women of Color Filmmakers. The other thing I've definitely found is, you know, as a filmmaker, I totally agree with, I was kind of listening a little bit with Angela, and Angela had mentioned about kind of thinking outside the box. So when you want to have a film done, I highly, highly strongly suggest and agree with her, you should start with the documentary. I started with the documentary, again, didn't know what I was doing, was lining everything up like I was taking a photo because that's what I knew as far as lighting and composition. But the smart thing I did was to reach out to different nonprofits regarding the subject matter of my documentary. My documentary was on prostate cancer. And so I was like, okay, how can I get this film out beyond my circle? So I started reaching out to tons of nonprofits, and I actually got some love from a nonprofit. My documentary is on prostate cancer in the African American community, and I got a lot of love from different nonprofits, but one in particular just kind of took our film under their wing and got us to screen for the Congressional Black Caucus. We ended up teaming up with the City of Hope Hospital and getting some income so that I could generate more screenings and do more things with the film. So I highly recommend that if you're doing a documentary, if you're doing a film project, try to think outside of the box. What is that subject matter? No matter what it is, even if it's a narrative, actually, if you have a narrative film on sex trafficking or something like that, reach out to those nonprofits. You will be surprised how much they want that entertainment aspect to shed light on that subject matter and get to more, be able to have a stronger reach. So I highly, highly recommend, or like I believe Angela mentioned, she contacted her local PBS or local, you know, even if it's your local, you know, whatever local network you can think of, you'll be surprised how often they will support an independent filmmaker. So I highly, highly recommend that. Nonprofits, and like she said, reach out to your local PBS and see, you know, how you can get that film out. The other thing it does is it helps you start to make a name for yourself, because now people are starting to know who you are as a writer, as a director, as a filmmaker, and more opportunities will start to come your way. And that definitely started happening for me as I started traveling with the film and going to different states, entering film festivals. Doors started opening. So definitely get yourself out there. Try to think outside the box. Try to think beyond film festivals. There are more ways to get your film out there than film festivals. Nowadays, we even have some of these independent streaming platforms. Look into them. See if it benefits you. I know some of them have cut how much they're paying because everything, the market's so saturated. But right now, with everything being on lockdown, how we have been with COVID, a lot of these platforms are looking for content and are more willing to take things that don't have big names attached or don't have, you know, maybe are a little more on the independent level, less studio look. So definitely reach out to different streaming platforms, connect with nonprofits, anything you can think of that is out of the norm, because there are so many opportunities now as independent filmmakers. The regular ways are getting oversaturated. So I highly, highly recommend you do that. But for me, that was definitely the route I took. Our documentary was on prostate cancer. So I realized that, I didn't know it going in, but then I soon realized that prostate cancer is not a sexy subject. So having these screenings, they wouldn't be packed. We had to do a lot of legwork, and even still, sometimes they're not as packed as you would like, but it didn't matter because I was getting to the people that I needed to get to push the film to the next level. So that would be my first thing, is think outside the box. Someone asked me the other day, and I wanted to bring this up, especially since we're here with the Scriptwriters Network, is when you're writing a film, or if someone wants to hire you as a writer on the independent side, what should you do? Like, how do you market yourself? How do you price yourself? How do you go about that? I have luckily been hired a couple of times to adapt, and actually I'm working on one right now, so I don't know if he's listening, but Troy, if you're listening, I'm bringing you up. But I've been hired a couple times to adapt books to the screen. And I think the first thing you need to think about when someone's asking you to write something for them, be it based on their concept or just a concept that they had, or if it's adapting something to the screen, to make sure that you have a solid contract. I know you're eager, I know when we're getting started, we're just eager and we're excited that someone thinks our talent is good and we can write for them. But I don't care if it's your friend, your mother, your cousin, your neighbor who always brings you cakes. Like, you need to have a contract. And even if it's just something simple, like they're going to pay, if you feel like, well, I'm just learning, so I'm not going to really charge them much, or I'm not going to charge them at all, you still should have a contract that lays everything out clearly. Because what I've seen happen a ton of times is that people don't do that. Something awesome happens with that film, and now you are feeling left out or out of the loop. So if everyone lays everything on the line from jump, no one's feelings get hurt. So that's definitely my very first tip on that. Secondly, I would say, when you're trying to figure out your pricing, base it on your skill, how long you've been writing. If you've got some great samples, if you've gotten a lot of good feedback, it's okay to start at a simple price point, a couple $100s. And then as you start to grow, make sure that your price point grows. Understand your worth. Do not write a full page script and do all their pitch deck and, pitch Bible, whatever, and you're making $200. Absolutely not. Make sure that you're billing for the time that you're putting into doing all that work. You are worth it. And I find a lot of times as creatives, especially as women creatives, we tend to rationalize why we should, I just want to do it, and this is an opportunity, and I don't want to overcharge. I feel like the guys don't do that as much. They're like, they could have less credentials and they'll be like, oh, well, this is what I'm charging, take it or leave it. And we kind of tend to want to, give a little bit more, but you really have to be solid in that, and be okay if the answer is no, that's not what they want to pay. Like, it's okay. There will be other opportunities as long as you keep writing. So I definitely wanted to talk about that because I get asked that a lot, like, how do you go about it? And I would say the first point is have a contract, and then base what you're charging on the amount of time that you are going to have to put in to create that script, that pilot, whatever it is you're writing. Make sure that you feel like, okay, I can make this amount of money spending this much time and feel good about it. I also recommend that you get a deposit first and to get started. After you get that contract, you get a deposit, even if it's a small deposit because you're not charging very much. Get a deposit. One thing that solidifies is that both of you are thinking on a professional level. And I say this is on the independent level because I do a lot of independent stuff. So it signifies that both of you are thinking about this as a business transaction. Yes, it's a creative business transaction, but it is a business transaction. So having a contract, getting that deposit, right? And then once you turn it in your, get towards the end of that contract, whatever you've agreed upon, if it's I turn in my final pages and I get that final payment, or I need my final payment before this final page, whatever it is, make sure that you are sticking to that contract and that you are getting the funds that you need to be able to comfortably work within the confines of that contract. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that before I forgot. I was trying to write little notes so I wouldn't forget things. Oh no, I thought I saw a question on there.
It's not, no, you're good.
Okay. What else did I want to talk about? Also, I want to say, it was funny working on the documentary. I definitely have a lot of friends who are in the industry on different levels, actors and writers and producers and filmmakers. And, the assumption is, well, we're all in this together, that we're going to just, together we're going to do all these things and we're going to make all these movies and it's going to be awesome. And sometimes that is the case and that's great. But a lot of times everyone has their own path. So don't be discouraged if you're finding that your friends are not the support system you need. You know what I mean? Like if you, have a screening for your movie and you don't have all your friends there, or you share something and they're not as excited about it, everyone is on their journey. And sometimes it can be hard to see friends become successful at certain times and you're not quite there, or vice versa. And so my suggestion is you need to get in a group like Scriptwriters Network with like-minded people. You need to go out and network, attend these film events, go to AFM, the American Film Market. And I know it may be hard now with COVID and everything. A lot of people are doing virtual. Do these virtual forums. I know our group, we do Scriptwriter Circle once a week where we read 25 pages of each other's scripts. Do things like that. You need to get out there and start to network and find your mentorship, even if it's not an individual, maybe it's in a group, so that you feel supported, because it is so hard to share your work. You're sitting for hours writing something that's come from your heart. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into this script, and you need a support system, a place where you can really get those things out and feel supported. So I highly recommend you join a group, you get out, you network, attend some events, go to film festivals when we're able to do that again. We'll see what level. But American Film Market, and also different organizations submitting your script. I know Angela, I think she mentioned a couple different ones. I was kind of in and out, I apologize. But definitely join those things. I think it is so important. And another thing is, if you can't find one that fits your needs, maybe you like stuff that's completely abstract and you're feeling like I don't fit into these groups, create one. Be the change you want to see. That's what I did. I knew that, there wasn't, to me, I wasn't finding a place where there was enough support for diverse female voices. I wanted to be about something that wasn't just complaining about it, but was doing something about it. And I wasn't finding that on an educational level, where we were also learning and helping each other grow as writers, directors, and producers. So that's why I started Women of Color Filmmakers. It was like, okay, I don't want to just sit around and complain about, Me Too and these things aren't happening. Yes, we need to get that out and vent, but what are we going to do about it? How are we going to make these changes? How are we going to produce work that looks polished and professional on an indie level, and we can be proud of it, and we can compete with some of these, independent films? It's funny because I had went to the American Film Market, AFM, one year, and we looked at the panel, and it was all white men and maybe one woman of color. No, actually one female, and she had worked on Beast of No Nation with Idris Elba, I think is the movie. And that was it. And none of those men on that panel could speak to how to make a film for under $2 million. It was crazy. I mean, they were talking like on, everything they were saying was all big, big, big studio. And so finally the moderator was like, okay, I have a question. How many people in the audience, and this was a huge ballroom, how many people in the audience makes films for 2 million or more? And 5 people in a ballroom of like 300 raised their hand. So that's kind of what, when we talk about the disconnect, that's kind of the issue. So as independent filmmakers, we have to find ways to make films that look polished and professional, because we know that they can get out there now. We know that we can get those films out there. So you need to surround yourself in groups like Scriptwriters Network. And I can't remember Angela's group, but I know she has a group as well.
Breaking into Hollywood.
Breaking into Hollywood, like Women of Color Filmmakers, that are going to help you cultivate so that your projects are look polished and professional. Because like I said, a lot of times I see, people write their scripts and then they're so excited to shoot it. But there's a lot of work that needs to go between when you say, okay, this script is done, till first day of production. And that can't be 3-4 days. You need to, how do you want it to look visually? What are the tones that, when you're reading this, what are the tones that you see on the screen? There's so much that goes into that. And so just helping you make sure that you're taking the time to truly develop your story, you need a supportive group for that. If you haven't gone to film school. Now, if you've gone to film school, maybe you can do that without that. I take that back, because I've even worked with people who've gone to film school that I was excited thinking I was going to learn a lot from, and then I end up teaching them a few things. Because I did not go to film school. I went to photography school. So, but still, my point is, get in a group where you can feel supported. That is so, so, so important. What else? Where was I going? I lost my train of thought. So I'm supposed to be talking about my story? Is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, and then your Women of Color, everything, like what you do, both your companies and everything as well, so that they can get to know you and your companies, and maybe they might want to join you, or
Gotcha. So for me, like I said, I started with doing a documentary, and then I went on to and yeah, it's funny because that documentary took me 6 years to do. So that's the other thing. Sometimes documentaries can be quicker. At first I was frustrated with that process, because I did it all, we did it all ourselves with our own money, me, myself, and my filmmaking partner for that project, with our own money, shooting on DSLRs, and not really know what we were doing at first. So it's funny, because the footage from 2012 and the footage from, 6 years later, I'm like, I wish I could scrap that footage. But it was good, because I learned a lot, and I was able to follow those men's stories. And then from there, teaming up with the nonprofits and getting it out there through the nonprofits was definitely beneficial and opened doors for me. My biggest project, the next project I did, not really the biggest, but the next project I did was I directed, again, a script that was adapted to the screen, written by someone else. It was a book adapted to the screen, written by someone else, and I ended up directing that. And I started creating what I call my family. So I met some awesome filmmakers in Atlanta, Georgia, and we all became a team on this project. And now those are the people I call on a lot when I'm working on stuff. So that's the other good reason why you have to get out and network, because when you get out and network, you start creating kind of that family. You hear artists like Issa Rae talk about, she works, she kind of created that family for herself, and they work together on all her YouTube shows and things like that. Having that connection, having people that you can work together on projects and help each other out, it makes you move so much faster. You then have a team, and you guys can come up together. So get that team together for yourself, and go out and shoot some of your work. I hear, you hear people all the time talk about, well, just take your iPhone and shoot. I highly, highly, highly advocate that. Even if it's, you wrote a 2-page short and you want to go out and shoot, practice, make sure that your storytelling is making sense when it gets to the screen. I highly advocate that. And then start to develop skills to truly tell that story. Be it, if you got to watch YouTube videos, get into a class or a workshop. Like we do the director's workshop, where we teach camera angle. In my group, Women of Color Filmmakers, we have a director's workshop where we teach camera angles and lighting, and how to tell when you should use a motif, and how to choose your color palettes, and all those visual parts of storytelling when you're going from the script to the screen. Practice that, because you're not going to get good at it if you don't practice it. So you have to practice these things just to start to develop that skill. Then it'll come natural to you. Never think that you're done learning. I was watching something that David Lynch, I was watching this interview with David Lynch, and he was saying, I'm still learning. Spike Lee, they're still learning. Meryl Streep, who's got what, 45 Oscars, still takes acting classes. Still has, well, she probably doesn't take classes. She still has an acting coach, let me put it that way. So my point is, you are never done learning. You have to constantly, as a writer, you need to be opening your mind to everything. Listen to different types of music, watch different types of film, travel, open your mind beyond the scope of your own personal circle. Even if you're telling stories that are based on your personal circle, find different influences. That way your characters can all have diverse voices, because there's nothing worse than reading a script where every character sounds the same. So how can you develop that muscle to give all your characters diverse voices? You got to get out there and travel and experience different things, or at least watch different movies. So that's definitely what, I'm sorry, a loud motorcycle just went by. But I highly, highly recommend that. So yeah, so after doing that and kind of having my base people, the people I call on all the time, continue to do more independent things, and like I said, hired to write as adapting scripts to screen, excuse me, not scripts to screen, books to the screen, making screenplays for that. And that's definitely an interesting process. I will say, if anyone is interested in doing something like that, you have to, sometimes you have to tread lightly. The 2 books that I've been hired to adapt to screenplays were both based on the author's personal lives, right? So with that, sometimes you have to be able to read in between the lines, because a lot of times what's written in the book doesn't translate as well to the screen. So again, it goes back to, how am I going to help make this narrative of a, creative story look like a screenplay and be able to visually translate? And that can be a challenge. It means you have to dig a little deeper into, if it's a memoir, which the 2 of mine were, that person's life, of the stuff they didn't necessarily put in the book. Which can be challenging, for sure. You have to be able to do that. It's almost like you become this psychologist. What are they not saying? Because that's the part that interests us as the audience. I was telling one of the person that I was working with, it's awesome to see that this character is a successful person and stuff like that, but I want to see what happens when he goes home at night and he's struggling with the things that he's dealing with as this character. That's the part that interests us. All the fluff and the success, that's great, but we all know nobody became successful without having all these layers and going through some trials and tribulations and things like that. And that's what we want to know as the audience. So make sure, if you're doing stuff like that, if you're adapting memoirs, that you dig into the nitty gritty. Don't let them just, service you fluff, and stand up for that. I definitely, with one of them, had to go back and forth a lot, because he was like, but that's not who you are. I want him to be, this dude who has all these ladies. And I was like, yeah, but okay, but that's not who you are. Yeah, that's great, but that's not, that's not realistic. You know what I mean? So try to stick to the human side. I think that's the other thing I see a lot with some of the independent things that I have been given, that I'm very adamant about. If I didn't write it and someone gives it to me and I feel like the characters are not well developed, I will happily say, if they're not willing to kind of work with me as a director to kind of, fix some of the issues I see as a director in the script, I will happily say I may not be the right director for you. Because me as a director, I have to be able to talk to the writer, right? I always say the writer writes the script, the director then use their interpretation of that script to bring it to screen. So that's why, like, in our group, we do script to screen, because a lot of times what's written on the page is not what makes it to the screen. I would say almost every movie we've analyzed, what was written on the page did not fully make it to the screen. So, you know, I have to be able, as a director, to work with writers who are willing to kind of bend a little bit. And, you know, if I see that that may be an issue, that they're willing to work that out a little bit. Is there a question?
No.
Oh, okay. So you have to be willing to, like I said, if you're directing or if you're the writer working with the director, you have to understand that that is an interpretation of your writing. And then when the actor gets it, they're going to have their own interpretation, right? So again, you can't be so married to those pages those words on the page, that you're not allowing them to interpret them, because that's what makes it beautiful. I always tell, you know, when we do the directors workshops, I always tell the directors that filmmaking is like an orchestra, right? The director is the conductor, but it takes all those different instruments, right? The DP, the script writer, the grip, best boy, script supervisor. Okay, you can't live without script supervisor on set as far as I'm concerned. But it takes all these people to make a beautiful symphony. And so each one has to be willing to give a little bit and let the others put their creative spin on things. So that way you have a beautiful symphony. And making films and script writing and producing and all that stuff, it's the exact same thing. As the writer, you have to be willing to allow the director to interpret what you wrote visually and bring it to the screen. So you cannot be so married to your script. And that's why I highly recommend, for me, I like doing roundtable readings, because then you can get, you know, if you haven't heard your words read aloud, you don't really know how people are perceiving them. I can't tell you how many times I've written a script and I thought, oh, this is going to be funny, or this is going to be heartwarming. And then they laughed at the heartwarming thing in the table read, or nobody laughed at what I thought was the joke. So, and that, you know, that happens, but they found something else. Like, I didn't realize how much my own writing, I always add a comical spin. A little bit, you know, there's always some comedy, even if it's a drama or horror or whatever, there's still some silliness. Well, I'm a silly person, but I didn't realize how much of that came out in my writing until I started hearing them read it aloud, and then they're laughing as they're reading this like scene from my horror script. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's just my writing style. But sometimes you may not pick up on that until you hear those words read aloud. So I highly recommend, before you're, you know, once you've written something and you feel like it's to a level where you can, you know, share it with others, do a table read, and do a table read with professional people, not just like your mom and your cousin and your best friends, because they're all going to be so proud of you. That's not the same thing. I would highly recommend, if you get with some friends from Scriptwriters Network, get with some filmmaking friends, and then sit down and have them read your script aloud. If you have some friends who are actors, have them read your script aloud. And then you must be able to take the meat and spit out the bones, because you don't need to make every change you hear someone say you should make. You have to be strong enough in your story that you created to say, okay, I'll take that note. That note sounds too much to the left. That note isn't like, oh, I see what you mean there. They're absolutely right. Even if it means, and I've done this sometimes because I'm so nervous when they're reading my stuff, you know, I'll record it. Like, if I'm not a video recording, maybe just audio, so I can sit there and listen to them read it, and then I can go back later and really digest what was said, so that I can decide, okay, this is really going to be instrumental in revamping this script, or all of that. That's just their opinion. Because as we know, as creatives, we all got opinions about everything. We are probably the most opinionated people on the planet. And that's totally fine. And you don't have to take everyone's opinion. But if you're getting a general consensus on certain things, then you have to look at that. If someone is constantly telling you, You got to work on your story structure. And you might think, well, who cares? I'm going to shoot it. And so who cares as long as the story's good? Yes, but if you want to be taken seriously as a writer, then that is an important aspect of writing. That's like thinking because you watch Law and Order, you can just go and represent yourself in a courtroom and you're going to win your case. I don't care how many law shows you watch. If you don't have the proper education to make it happen, you're not going to win that case. I don't care how smart you are. You know what I mean? And script writing is kind of the same thing. It's like this one area is, and with acting, I think with all things in the film industry, people just assume they can do it. Yes, you can, but you still have to learn, you know, the proper way to do something. Don't turn in a script that was written in Word. And you may think, well, who would do that? Trust me, I've seen it. As an independent director, I've gotten quite a few scripts like that, and I'm like, okay. And then they want us to attach names. You know, I'm like, I'm not sending this to anybody's representation if it's not polished and professional looking. I'm just not. I won't do that. I will not try to work with a casting director if you turn in a script to me that was written in Word. I'm just letting you know right now. Get some script writing software. It is not that expensive. And get your script in the proper format so that you look professional. It also reflects on who you are. You want to be able to get your stuff to studio, to Lionsgate, to, you know, whatever network you want to maybe be you know, in the writing room and you want to get on your favorite show. Okay, then you have to show that you take the craft seriously. And you can't do that if you're not making sure that you have the proper tools to do so. And it starts on the independent level, because there's a lot of writers right now who are getting to those writers' rooms but have just been working independently. And it can totally happen for you. It can totally happen. But you've got to take the time to develop that craft and make sure that your stuff looks the part. I can't remember what director I was just looking at the other day. I should have wrote his name down. But he directed his major film, and everything he did were shorts, independent shorts. But from doing really good shorts, okay, he now directed his first big studio film, and I'm so upset that I can't remember his name right now. I think that was also the case with the young lady who directed Birds of Prey. I don't think she had done a lot of major films before she directed Birds of Prey. So again, this level, you can really, really get your name out there, but you've got to really start honing your craft, taking the time to develop your craft. Get in a workshop. If you got to get those master classes that are so popular right now, do some of those. Getting to organizations like the Script Writers Network, you know, like our organization, Women of Color Filmmakers, where you have that support, you can take some workshops and you can start to really hone your craft. I highly, highly recommend that. And if you can get a mentor, I recommend that too. And also, you know, if there's someone, I always like to tell this story because to me it's funny, but it also shows about thinking outside the box. So if there's someone that you've been wanting to work with, reach out to them. And they may not say yes right away. So I think I've told this story to you before, Melissa. I wanted to work with Blair Underwood on something. And so I showed up to where I knew he was going to be. At the time, he was writing a children's book. And I showed up with my huge 8x10 headshots and tried to work with, and he just looked at me like I was crazy. I mean, he was so sweet and so nice, but he looked at me like I was crazy and was just like, okay, no, I'm not taking your big ass headshot. But, you know, thank you for inquiring about the project. This is where we're at on it, yada, 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 right? And I was, you know, I decided I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep pursuing him. And so he ended up co-writing a book with one of my favorite writers, Tanana Rivdu. And I learned they were going to be at Echelon Books in in Leimert Park. And so I decided I was going to show up. And this time I brought my son, who was, I think, like 9 or 10 at the time. And so I go again and I have my book and I'm all excited and I'm telling him, you know, I've been following him and, you know, where he was at with this project I wanted to work on. And so this time, my boy, I'm so proud. I raised a good son. Shout out to Lamel. I see he just joined. My boy was so good. He looked Blair Underwood in the eye and he shook his hand and was like, "Hello, sir. It's nice to meet you." And that made Blair stop and take notice. And he was like, we held up all the people who were waiting to be get their book signed by him. And he was like, "Wow, what a smart young man. Like, you did a good job." And he was like, "How have you been?" Now he's asking me, how have I been, right? And so basically, you know, this time he said, "Well, this is where we're at with the project, but thank you for inquiring." Again, he was still not 100% with me, but I was telling him about my progress as a filmmaker, what I had done, where I was at. Then I ended up taking my first film to Pan-African, and he happened to Pan-African Film Festival, and he happened to be the host that year. And when he saw me, he was like, "Oh my God, here you are again. Come here, come here." And he was telling another legend in the industry, "Remember how I used to show up everywhere and follow you around? Well, that's what she does to me." And this time he gave me his business card and he was like, "So this project unfortunately has been shelved by Searchlight for right now, but please stay in contact with me." And I continue to develop that relationship with him. So I tell that story to say, you cannot give up on the things that you want to do, even if at first it says no, they say no. Now, if you do get that no, you need to continue to develop yourself. So when you meet them again, or when you got that opportunity again, they're now seeing that you're serious. And that's really what happened with him. When I first went to him, I was super green. Now I laugh, because if an actor came up to me as a director and said, "Here's my 8x10 headshot," I would definitely be like, "I'm not taking that." I get it now. At the time, I didn't know no better, but now I understand why he wasn't willing to take it, right? But I didn't give up. You know, I was like, okay, I kept researching where he was at with that specific project. I kept looking into it, trying to understand what was happening. And because of that, my tenacity and also my continuing to develop my craft, after that, I had made a couple other independent projects. I had done some shorts, I had directed some things, I had been writing. And by the time he saw me the third time, now I'm at the film festival with my first project. So my point in saying all of that is, yes, you will get a lot of no's. Sometimes people are not gonna see you, you know, you may seem too green to them. But if you continue to hone your craft, then you will be ready. And you won't have to worry about, well, they keep saying no or they don't like me. Don't take those things personal. A lot of times there are 45 billion people wanting someone like his attention. You know what I mean? They want him to act in something. They think, oh, you know, they're going to be in my play. Maybe I can get him in my play. He is not going to do your play. Like, you know, there's another friend of mine who is now a big celebrity, and sometimes people will be like, "Oh, I wonder if she'll do my," no, she's not going to do it. Like, she's doing big things right now. She's not going to do, you know, your play at the local black box theater. That's not going to happen. And that's okay. But you can continue to reach out to these people, do that play, get it out there. And that way you now have a slate of work that you've done. So when you bump into these people again, or when you reach out to that studio again, or whoever that person is, it shows that you are continuing to hone your craft. So I always say, to me, I take a no's as just not right now. To me, if I get an, okay, it's not right now, or that actually wasn't for me. That's something sometimes we think too. We get so set on a specific opportunity thinking, oh, this is supposed to be for me. I know it. Oh, I've always dreamed of having my movie on Netflix, right? That's like the hot thing now. Everybody wants to have their project on Netflix. What if that's not for you? What if it's not for you because your main payday is not going to come from Netflix? Maybe it's going to come from a whole opportunity that hasn't even presented itself to you yet, but you're so set on this is it that you're closing your mind to that. Now, I'm not saying don't continue to pursue that opportunity. I'm saying keep your mind open. And if you get that no, you can keep pursuing there, but make sure you're doing other things to hone and develop your craft as a writer, as a filmmaker, whatever it is that you want to do. If it's juggling, whatever, you know, whatever it is. Also, one thing I remember when I first did my first film, I attended this film industry, this film event. I can't even remember what it's called now. It was so long ago. And one of the guys on the panel had just kept talking about how whenever you do your first film, it's going to be horrible. You just need to get that in your head. It's going to be horrible. I mean, he was so negative. I was like, who stole his bike? Like, why is he on this panel? He was just so negative. And I left there thinking, one, when people are like that, I always want to be the opposite. Don't tell me my first thing is going to be this. I'm going to make sure that it's not that. How about that? My point in bringing that up is sometimes you have to separate yourself from people like that. And you also have to remember that sometimes people who have all those accolades behind their names that, you know, appear to be very successful, or in your mind, oh, you're holding them on this pedestal, they're still humans. They've had their doubts and disappointments and, you know, their no's. And a lot of times that negativity or that no has nothing to do with you. And listening to that man, I don't know why they had him on the panel for first-time filmmakers, but he was so negative. I was like, something happened to him. I don't know what it is, but I refuse to let him discourage me as a filmmaker, you know, as being a new filmmaker. I just refused, which I know I'm an overly positive person anyways. Like, I'm always smiling, I'm very bubbly, but I just don't believe that that's what you tell someone when they're first coming out the gate and excited about the industry. So don't let someone discourage you, even if they have that kind of negative Nelly attitude. You still, and it's someone that you admire. Okay, that's not the person for you. That is not the person for you. Now you need to move on and, again, find a good supportive group where you can cultivate your work, you can cultivate yourself as an artist. And you know, that's definitely what I strive in our group, Women of Color Filmmakers. I strive to help the women in our group feel supported and feel like they have a place where they can share their stories. You know, nowadays, especially with everything that's going on in the world, a lot of people are now starting to share very personal stories that can be hard to share about the movements that are happening right now. And, you know, you need to be able to share those in a place where you feel secure before you start dealing with the ridicule of the world. So that's why I stress getting into a good group where you can feel supported and you have some mentorship. And, you know, sometimes as creatives, the other thing I see a lot is putting down our egos a little bit and putting all the accolades aside. You know, sometimes people will want certain people just because they have those accolades, and you hear all the time, oh, well, they've done this and they've done that and they've done here and they've been on this in this writer's room. And I will tell you, as someone who does a lot of independent work, how 9 times out of 10, the person that has to stress that they did all those things does not always have the same skill level as the person who's done 45 independent films and has no accolade. I can't tell you how many times. Do not get hung up on what somebody worked on, what movie they did, who they worked under. Look at their talent and skill level. That is what's important when you're choosing a director to direct your script. Don't get hung up on they did all this. You need to look at their work and ask questions. How much of, if they send you their reel, right? Let's say you wrote a script and now you're hiring a director and you're hiring your crew, and maybe you just want to be the producer and you want to just allow them to do that. Get their reel and then ask them, how much did you shoot this? Were you the DP and director? Because a lot of times independent people, we wear a lot of hats. Okay, if you weren't, how were you directing this? Like, tell me what your idea was visually that got to what I'm seeing now in your reel. And the reason why I say that is a lot of times you can find that what you're seeing was really the DP's interpretation and not the director's. The director was clueless. So you want to make sure that you're asking those type of questions when you're seeking your crew. If you're not directing yourself, ask those questions. What else? And like I said, don't get hung up on the accolades, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And if someone has to stress that to you, then I would be concerned. If I have to keep hearing that you worked under Spielberg and Spike Lee and you did this, you did that, I'm scared. I'm jump might not hire you just because I feel like, okay, but they have their credentials. What can I see that you did? You know what I mean? So just beware of that, because I definitely see that a lot. Let's see, what else? I do want to make sure I leave time for any questions. I had written down some notes. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. And hi to everyone joining us on Instagram. Thank you. What else am I forgetting? Yeah, I think for me, just the main thing is try to think outside the box. If you see everyone, you know, like for example, everyone wants to get their film on Netflix, then I would definitely look for a platform that maybe is just, you know, starting to take off and not as popular, because to me, it's just bigger to be, you know, a big fish in a little pond versus a little fish in a big pond. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know if Quibi is taking as much independent stuff, but if you're in just making shorts and you want to get on a platform, maybe look for something outside of all the big ones, and just get your footing, see where you can get in. You know, whatever it may be, just try to think of different ways to connect, because if everyone's doing it, then it's overly saturated. Like I said, reach out to nonprofits. I think, and like Angela said, look at your local public broadcasting stations. You know, I would be, you know, let's honest, I am surprised about how many people watch the public broadcasting station. Like I actually worked for a little bit with Pasadena, the Pasadena one. And people would tell me they saw stuff. I'm like, you watch it? Like I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of, you know, movies. I watch a lot of movies, but not a lot of television. Or if I do, I am definitely somebody who will just watch all the episodes. Like I'm now catching up on The Handmaid's Tale. But a lot of people watch those public broadcasting stations. So if you could get something on there, you know, late at night when they're flicking channels they can't figure out to watch. And even now where everyone's pretty much online streaming things versus like really flicking through regular cable TV, people watch that. So if you can get your project on there, your music video, whatever, do it. Get your project on that public broadcasting station. You will be surprised. But just try to think of other things that maybe are a little more grassroots, that can get you that recognition you need and get your name out there, because that's really what it's all about. It's getting your name out there as an artist, networking, making those connections, and getting in a group where you can feel supported and encouraged, and yeah, to get to the next level. Team up with a group of friends also. I would say if you are solely a scriptwriter, look for a group of friends who are also script writers and see if you guys can somehow develop all your scripts, if they're like shorts, into one feature film. You know, there's a couple of shorts, like if you think of back, I always think of like, what was it, Creep Show, I think was a whole bunch of shorts that was really one feature film under a theme. Things like that. I know we're doing something like that in Women of Color Filmmakers. We all did quarantine films. We had a quarantine filmmakers challenge called Lazaretto, and now we're all trying to put our films that we shot as shorts individually into one feature called Lazaretto. So if you can team up with a group of filmmakers and everyone has their different shorts, and you can then package it that way and see if you can sell that as a feature film. You never know. But if you're not out there and making those connections, you definitely can't make that happen. So I highly recommend that. I can't think of anything else. If there's any questions, I am open to answer.
There are a couple of questions.
Okay.
Okay, the first one from Celia is, do you have any documentaries in development now? What are you working on now?
Great question. So I don't have a documentary in development right now because, believe it or not, like I finished my documentary on prostate cancer in 2017, but it's still getting a lot of traction. And because it's about prostate cancer in the African American community, we just got like a whole new surge. So I'm kind of letting that documentary ride. But right now I'm actually writing, adapting from a book to the screen, a book called Why Black Men Don't Cry. So it'll be a drama. And I'm also working on a horror film project. I decided after doing such a heavy documentary on cancer that I needed to do something fun. So the horror movie is a zombie movie, and that should be fun. And then I have we did a zombie short that's actually in post-production for the quarantine challenge. And then I have a horror movie that I'm writing right now. So I have those two scripts I'm working on, Why Black Men Don't Cry and the horror script, and then in post-production with my quarantine zombie movie.
And the second question from Desiree was, what was your first directing pre-production experience, and what was your first day filming like? Was it what you expected? How scary was it? Okay.
Excellent question. So for me, I would say my first post-production experience, that was a great question because I wrote way too many notes. So what did benefit me was as a photographer, I understood camera angle and camera composition. So my shot list was mad, stupid, ridiculous. Like I just was like, oh, I need this shot and this shot and this shot and this shot. And I realized when I got to set that none of that was going to happen and none of that was necessary. So the benefit of me going to photography school was I understood that I had to have some structure and that I needed to make sure that I had a plan for the day. So I actually did very well. Even the crew, who they had all worked on a lot of projects together. My first big directing project outside of the documentary, I had 80 cast and crew members. And so luckily, most of my crew were way more advanced than me. And that's the other thing. Don't get intimidated when you're working with people who know more than you. Like I would tell them, oh, I want this shot like this. And they're like for instance, we had a shot in the bathroom and I said, I want it with no sound. And I want to feel like the camera's creeping in over his shoulder. And he goes, oh, do you want that MOS? I said, does that mean no sound? Because that's what I want. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know all the terms, but I had clearly written out what I wanted. And so that made the crew, even though they knew I was kind of green in certain aspects, they were excited to work with me because I had thought everything out. And they even said, this is the first time we worked with anyone, and our first day of shooting, we got done on time. Nothing was late. We were able to move through our shots quickly. And they said that at the end of the first day, and then they jinxed us because in the next day, I learned don't let talent take their clothing home. One of our talent forgot his outfit for the day, and that threw our day off. We couldn't shoot that scene. So, but my first experience, honestly, it was awesome. I mean, it was stressful because I was a director, producer. I wasn't the executive producer, so there was a lot of battling to get the executive producer to do certain things. But I had an awesome crew, and they made that experience so good to me, and they were so nice and respected me as a very green director because I was clear on what I wanted. I stayed up all night working on that shot list, all night trying to make sure I had everything right. And they really appreciated that. So definitely the more prepared you are, because I'm gonna tell you, I've never worked on a production where something didn't go wrong on the shoot day. I've never. There's always something. Something's broken, something's not working. Maybe the venue wasn't prepped properly. Maybe one of the days we were shooting, we were working in this restaurant. They gave us a short window to have the restaurant to ourselves to shoot this restaurant scene. And then the restaurant owner was 45 minutes late. But we couldn't, go longer because the restaurant was opening for lunch. So we had to make it work. So trust that something's going to go wrong, but as long as you're prepared, you can handle those transitions on the fly.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions for Londy? All right, so why don't you give them your contact information? Oh, sorry, one more question. Apologies, Feline. Thank you, Melissa and Angela and Lonnie. Both women express the need for lifelong learning. What are they currently learning or studying? Also, what skill would you like to see in more writers? That's from
Awesome. For me, I am constantly learning script writing. I like to take script writing courses all the time because I feel like I can always learn more. I took a course with Pilar Alexandra. I know you guys are probably familiar with her on the page. I love taking her classes. I actually have the master class. I'm learning that. And then within my group, Women of Color Filmmakers, we have I actually will have different speakers come in and teach things. So we just had the director's workshop. We have a bigger one coming up. I teach portions of that. And then I have a DP who comes in from Georgia, Alex Gardner. He will teach a portion of that. We'll probably, once we are able to meet in person again, we'll look at rescheduling that. A lot of the women in my group of Women of Color Filmmakers, they go from beginners to intermediate to advanced levels of filmmaking. So we have DPs and editors and all. So I'm constantly, trying to learn from them, asking them to do workshops. We actually had an idea generation workshop, which is, I highly recommend doing stuff like that if you're feeling stuck. Like I was feeling stuck. We did it right when the quarantine started. So a lot of us, for me, my business, I lost like all my clients within 3 days. All my productions that were scheduled to shoot, they were for up until November, all canceled or at least postponed. Most of them postponed, some of them canceled indefinitely until we could see what was going to happen. So, writing, like it sounds good. Oh, I'm stuck at home, I should be writing. But my brain was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And so within our group, we had a workshop called Idea Generation that was led by one of our members, Christina Wren, and it just helped that getting unstuck. So constantly doing things like that. It's a workshop that I feel like it's something that, to me, all these things are muscles. And if you're not working one muscle, if you only work your legs and thighs, then your arms are going to be weak and vice versa. And so if you're only focusing, depending on what you want to do, like I'm a writer, director, producer. So if I'm only working on writing and I'm not doing any directing things, then that muscle gets weak. So I try to just take different courses that will help me stay on top of it all. Yeah.
Perfect. And I think that answered your question, Celine. Thank you. Okay, and then just real quick, Londy, contact information if you want, the website, so someone can reach out to you as well.
Sure. So you guys can always contact me through my website, Blue Child Entertainment. So that's blue like the color blue, child like the little kid, entertainment.com, bluechildentertainment.com. There's a reach out, contact me form. You can always email me there. You can always go to our classes and workshop page and learn what we're doing for Women of Color Filmmakers. We're also on Meetup. Women of Color Filmmakers is on Meetup. And we're getting ready to launch our website. So, you can join, if you subscribe to Blue Child Entertainment, you'll be able to get the videos of all our past speakers. And then you'll also be on the list for when the website is live, and you'll be able to check out all our events and all that good stuff there.
Perfect. All right. And thank you, Lonnie.
Yes, thank you, Melissa, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No problem. Again, Lonnie is another friend, another person that I value and that has come in and helped and continuously help. So just like she said, find people like that, even though we're doing the same thing with our organizations. And, we don't feel like we're competing with each other. We're working together and bringing you more. So it's all about helping.
That's right.
Everybody in the industry. So, all right, thank you. So you can say if you can go if you want, if whatever you want to do, Londy.
Thank you so much, Melissa. You take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you later. Okay, so everyone, hi, it's my turn now. I hope you all are well. Thank you all for joining. I hope you're really learning a lot from these ladies that I work with. We were supposed to have another speaker, Sandra, but she canceled last minute, so you know how that is. This is Hollywood. Things happen. And okay, Desiree is like, woo woo. Thank you, Desiree. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple of things first. I don't know if you guys know, we have ScriptWriters Network. We're gonna look at the website, but ScriptWriters Network, we have 3 programs that are opening script submission programs. So I'm going to give all of you a chance to win a free submission to one of our script submission programs, and this will include reading by 2 readers your full script, okay? But you're going to have to turn it in by the deadline, blah, 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 but you will not be able to pay for it. You might not have to pay for it if you win it. So I'll get to that a little later. We'll play around with that for it. So have your pen and pencil ready, because we're going to do something like, you know, I'm going to have you put together a couple of paragraphs with some words, and you have to be very creative. I'm the one that's going to read it, and I'm the only one that's going to read it, and I will make the determination of who did the best, okay? And then that way I'll let you know you win a free, you submit a script, you get 2 free reads. If you win the reads, you get a chance to, we'll look at everything, and you probably get a chance to work and talk with a producer or writer that comes up. So let's go to, and I'm hoping that everyone can see this. If you can't, no, hold on a second, because I am not an expert at this. And exit full screen. Oops, I don't know. Okay, so we're looking at Scriptwriters Network, our website. And then so what I hope that you guys can see it. So if you can't see it, let me know. But if you can, either way, let me know. And I just want to, I'm different from the ladies because they've done so much stuff, but I totally focus on Scriptwriters Network because I'm trying to get it to a place where everyone can learn. And like they both say, that you just need to continue learning. And so this is what we're going to be talking about. So Scriptwriters Network, everyone can see that, right? Those who don't know, we are a nonprofit educational organization, and we bring in entertainment professionals to speak and teach the art, craft, and business of script writing for TV, features, and new media. So on our website, we have upcoming meetings. We have everything that's going on that you can find, that you can learn, that you can connect with. And as I was mentioning, these are our script submission programs. We have a Hollywood outreach program, we have a high concept screenplay program, and we have a television outreach program. The only one that I was able to, time permitting, go ahead and open up was the television outreach program. So let's go into that for a minute. Television outreach program, submissions are open now. This is a program just to support undiscovered television writing talent. And the objective here is to help writers improve their craft so that they may achieve their goals of obtaining representation, script development, mentoring, and career counseling services, landing writing assignments, and selling their work. Now, what Scriptwriters Network do is we're like the beginning. We help you hone your craft with your writing so that you can go take it to the next level, so that you can take it to people like Londy and to Angela and help them out. So the process is simple. There's phase 1, 2 readers will read your entire script. I don't believe in reading the 10 pages. That's me. That's how we run the organization. That's just a personal thing. We believe in reading the entire script. So I also train readers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so they're going to be able to read your script. And then if 2 people recommend your script, then you have a chance to move forward. So again, we're an educational nonprofit organization. Another thing that I don't believe in with regards to what Scriptwriters Network does is we don't believe in giving negative feedback or evaluations. I totally believe in constructive feedback, and they have to be positive. I need it to be positive and constructive, because how are you going to learn if it's not positive, and how are they going to learn if it's not positive? Okay. You're sharing the screen, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it. Okay. So obviously my sharing screen does not come through, Desiree. Thank you for letting me know. So if everyone, it says share screen. Oh, I guess I have to do it that way. There we go. Can you see it now? Yes, you must see it. I'm sharing the screen. Ah, success, people, success. Okay, so again, this is our television outreach program, which is the submissions are now open. And then, as I was saying, there's 2 phases. 2 readers will read and evaluate your scripts, okay, and provide feedback. They are reading your full scripts. So if you win, they're going to read your full script, not your first 10 pages, not the middle, not 30 pages, the full script, and give you detailed evaluations, give you a detailed feedback on your script. Okay. But as I mentioned, it has to be positive. I read every last evaluation, I read it. And I have other volunteers that read it. So we make sure that it is positive, it is constructive, it is so that it's helping you and not hurting you, helping you to be a better writer, okay? And as I mentioned, the prizes, you will receive prizes. Your log lines will go to our industry professionals because we have a list of people that we work with. Also, when we make announcements of script winners, of submission readers, then we have companies that we work with that will ask us for, the log line and stuff. Inktip, like the ladies was mentioning before, Inktip is one of our sponsors. We use Inktip. You submit your script on Inktip, and then you also have producers and stuff that look at that as well. I always try to have a writer producer that you meet with if you're here in Los Angeles before the quarantine or before the COVID. Everyone was meeting in person. I would actually buy lunch for 2 hours, and you sit and you talk with the person. You're not in, Los Angeles County, or we do videos. We've done videos this, time. So, but, either way, you have a chance to speak with, a writer or producer that's currently in the industry, and you have a chance to pick their brain, ask them questions, get feedback, talk about your script that's submitted. That's what they're there for. So, and they know it and they approve of it. That's them giving back their time. Here's the fees and everything that we're doing. I'm doing a drastic cut because it's my birthday month. So I'm doing that as well. So it's, fees and all, but in case you don't win, you can do that. And I should say how many winners. I'm gonna probably do about 5 or 6 winners, depending. So if you guys are really good, I'll get 6 of you, and then you can submit. You win free script submissions. And as far as television outreach program, I want to go to, so you can see the winners. So you know that I'm not exaggerating. Our television outreach winners. So this is the latest one that we've done. This is with executive producer Joel Anderson Thompson. You can look him up, and we're on a video call. So of course I got to take pictures because I got to do it for the winners, and so that everybody can know that we are truly keeping our word and having everyone talk with the writers and producers. And these are 2017 winners: Steven Sears, excuse me. Dave Shelton, producer, and James Morrow. So we had, those producers come in. I actually bought lunch for those times, but again, that was before quarantine. So now that you can see the screen, also want to go back to our homepage. If you don't know anything about us, you can come to our homepage. We have everything on it. Again, Hollywood Outreach and High Concept, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to open those this weekend. Actually, after I get off this call, I'm going to do it. For those, we do bring in other companies, just like the 2 ladies. And actually, I just want to let you know that I did ask a lot of people, but time permitting and stuff, I will only able to get the 2 ladies. So that's fine. I do receive rejection as well. So, I want you all to know that. But we brought in some of the companies. It's called Writing Programs and Fellowship, which we have videotapes for our members. And some of the programs are Nickelodeon, National Hispanic Media Coalition, Producers Guild, Sundance, and you can go on and on. It's NBC Writers on the Verge, CBS, Warner Brothers. So we, and Universal. So we work with some of these people. They'll come in every once in a while and speak. We keep this up so that you can always look on their programs and see when they're opening, when they're closing. If you can submit your scripts to them, I suggest that you do it as well. They take it further than we do. We just make you have the connections and stuff, and you're able to submit everything. But there are some of them, they pay to work, they pay you to be on a program. They hone your craft better, deeper, stronger. So, I suggest that you work with them. And then we want to move on to I know you guys are like, oh, what? I thought you were going to say personal notes. Sorry, I all about Scriptwriters Network. Also on here, we have featured videos of writing hit television shows, writing Hollywood blockbusters, writing sci-fi fantasy shows. Okay, these two, the featured two videos right here, the Hollywood blockbusters and the sci-fi, they are free to look at. They're about 2 hours in length if you want to look at it. They're only a taste of what you'll find, because as a member, you'll find way more videos than that. This featured video, writing the hit for television shows, this one is not free. It is for our members. So you would need to become a member as well. We're always looking for volunteer opportunities, but it's kind of, you know, at a standstill right now with what's going on. So again, up here, let's see, let's go back to events. Also on Scriptwriters Network, you can find our upcoming events and what's going on there, what's upcoming. We always have everything listed there, so you never miss it. Previous events. Now, these are all the events that we have had. Right here are a list of all of the speakers that have come, that spoke with us. Okay, and then there's stuff that speakers that we have not listed. You can always find the names of our events, and then there are years that you can go back and look for it. Now, I recommend to look on this, especially if you're looking for a literary agent. We have past literary agents here. We have past managers listed. I know the lady spoke to you about that as well, if you're looking for those. But Angela's done it herself, so that might be something you might be interested in. Also, you can, you know, look up past events to see if somebody, like we work with consultants like Jen Corsanti, Pilar Alexandra, all of them have come and spoke with us. So you can always look up all their information as well here and see what's going on. We have an event when we are lifted from quarantine. We have an event called the Friday Night Social Networking event. We have a lot of people attend this event. This is an event where you just come and network. It is strictly networking. There are no speakers. We ask everyone to network while they are at this event. We do have producers and writers that are currently working that will stop in unannounced, which means I don't know they're coming, and they will network. They don't even tell me who they are until they're leaving sometimes. So this is a good opportunity to network. So as soon as we are able to resume that event, we will let you know, okay? And one of the other things that we're doing is called Script Analysis Readers Class. This is a class where, again, we teach people how to analyze their script to make it more better, to hone it tighter. And then we also teach our readers. I teach readers how to read. I teach this class. It's actually coming up next week, Saturday. I teach this class to, you know, let everybody know how to read a script. But the difference is that it is going to be done the way that we're teaching it, which is constructive, positive criticism for the scripts. Again, I don't approve of the negative. I don't agree with the negative. Not that I approve it, I don't agree with it. But this will teach, you know, show you how to do it positively. And another thing I do is after you do read about 20 scripts, a minimum of 20 scripts, I give you certificates, which, you know, I have to still send out this year, but I want to go ahead and give out certificates so that, you know, you can take it if you want someplace. We do have industry partners and stuff that know that we're doing this, that know about us, that know that we teach people how to read scripts, so they'll work with them as well. So I'll go ahead and give out gift certificates, or, you know, certificates of completions, so that you can go ahead and take that with you if you need to, or you can just have them reach out to me and I keep a list. We also do, so that script analysis reading class is next week, Saturday. If you are interested to do it. We also have something called Pitch Boot Camp, which it is designed to drill prospective screenwriters into delivering professional, concise, interesting pitches. It is a boot camp. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been trying to figure out how to do it online. I don't, so I'm gonna work on that. But it's fun and great in person, so I need to make it fun and great online. But so many other stuff have come up that I needed to focus on. So just do a standby. We will do the pitch boot camp, and you know, just go ahead and check that out as well. We do have something called 2-day writing challenge. I'm probably going to be, you know, we're probably going to be working on that and how to get that out as well. So just to see, you know, everyone can probably do it from home. You know, I just want to figure out a good way to do it as well. And then also, we go to our resources drop-down menu. You can, this is more information on your script, especially if you would open here, protecting your script. So yes, I have this in here. U.S. Copyright Office, literary works, also international information. If you are international, you can find out how to register your works. We also include the Writers Guild East and West on this so that it can give you more information. The article tips and news. We try to provide information so that everyone can learn more, even if you don't want to become a member. There's a ton of information like this, how to write scripts, how to become a movie writer. It's just stuff that you can, you know, figure out or look at or read just to see things. We also have stuff written by, courtesy of Script magazines, written by other people on here as well. So, you know, these are everybody that we work with, I have worked with in the past, and will work with in the future, as you know. And additionally, we have links to some of our partners, just partners that we work with, you know, and stuff. So, but I want to get to, you can choose a writing group. So I want to go ahead and focus on this for a minute. Spirit Writers Network, we're not connected to or associated with any writers group. But both of the ladies mentioned that working with a writers group or getting a writers group to help you with their script, to help you with everything is important. And I feel it is, because sometimes you may need help, sometimes you may need someone else to talk with you or feed off of someone else that's, you know, just objective. You may look at it so many times that, you know, you need a fresh voice, a fresh face to look at it. So we just give you a little bit of steps of how to research for a writing group online. And I want to say this seriously, just please research the group. Make sure you research the group. Make sure you know all about it. You know, these are some tips. Make sure it's like if they do horror only, that's what you're doing. Make sure the time frame, make sure they'll let you in. What is the schedule? How do they do it? You know, what is, you know, basically how many members are in it? How do you read? Do they read the scripts? So you want to find out a lot of stuff. Be thorough in your research for the writers group. That's very important, because you don't want to feel like you're wasting your time. So just make sure you are thorough in it. And then also we have some etiquette, you know, on receiving feedback, no matter if it's in person or online or video. Just, you know, my main thing is just don't be negative. I mean, even if you receive feedback on your script and it's something that, you know, you don't feel that the person has read it, or you don't feel that the person get it, well, maybe it's because you didn't explain it correctly enough, or it didn't come out on the pages that what you had in your brain didn't fully come out on the pages. So take a step back and actually really feel and listen to what the person is saying, and then, you know, just reread your script. So just, you know, I like to say, just don't be negative. Just don't, you know, have a negative attitude about it. Just, and don't be defensive. Just, you know, take it, step back and just reread it, or take a break from it and reread it, or have someone else read it. And if you get the same thing, just like what Lonnie was saying, if you get the same notes from a couple people, then that means that what you were thinking did not translate into the pages. So just go ahead and, you know, just don't be negative. That's all I want to say. All right, and then this is a little bit about who we are, our mission and stuff, and what we do. You know, you can go ahead and play around with that. We again, like I said, we bring in entertainment professionals and to read. There is a video that would come up, hopefully, and then you guys can take a look at that when you get a chance. I am, oh, where are we? We also have our history on here. We have a word from the president. History is about what we've been doing, acknowledgement. We've won some awards, you know, whatever. And let's go to support us. So we do have corporate sponsors. We have volunteer opportunities. Again, if you want to volunteer, email info@scriptwritersnetwork.org and we can let you know what's going on. You have a chance to donate. And then let's skip over here. So members, if you are a member, we are a membership-based organization. We do have, like it says on the drop-down menu, Friends of Scriptwriters Network. We have write-ups that we have. So basically, when we were meeting live, I have volunteers come in and do write-ups. And what they would do is pick out points and stuff of more important of what the speaker was saying. So a lot of that, we have so much of that that's in there. We have a lot of videos of our past speakers in there as well. So you can go ahead and look at videos as a member. We have a lot of pictures and more that I need to add. So there's a lot that have not been added, but you know, audios have, I don't think that there's any too much audios in there. And then we did have member spotlight, discounts for some of our friends and speakers. So there's a lot of discounts and some extra stuff that we just threw in there from extra people that wanted some stuff in there. We don't have any networking in our members section because we were just doing that live, so we don't really have any networking. Okay, and then now I want to go back to join. So with our join, with regards to it, give you the prices and everything. So again, benefits of joining, you get to speak to a lot of people. We do have, these are the people that have names or, you know, have done a lot of things, and then I just picked out some of the most important, like Glenn Mazzar does The Walking Dead, Matt Nixburn noticed. We also have like Vanessa Teller does Game of Thrones as well. So these were the people that came in and spoke to us. These are the highlights. But that's not all of them. I don't have any of the consultants mentioned. So there's a lot more speakers. So that's why it's good to look at the past speakers. And then these are all of the opportunities and everything that you can get through Scriptwriters Network. And then these are the prices. So our annual membership for our regular members are like $219, but you can pay monthly payments as a nonprofit. We broke it down. You can pay monthly payments, and also I have there's specials for military students and seniors. Discounted price $189. You can do monthly payments, but with the military students and seniors, we ask that you send in your ID. Let's get real because we have to verify you. Okay, and then I want to go over to the overview. Is just everything that Scriptwriters Network really do. Our monthly meetings that we're trying to maintain, our programs that I've just mentioned, our networking opportunities, and that we can no longer do right now. Special events, memberships, etc. You have a frequently asked page, and so all the questions that you want to ask, you can go here and you can learn a lot. Some of the questions that you don't even need to, you know, stuff. And then there's a contact us page, publicity and stuff. Okay, so stop share. I figured it out. Cool. Okay, so I see questions. Okay, thanks, Desiree. Okay, Celia. Hi, Melissa. I am returning SME and volunteer member from 2014-15. Thank you for having this event featuring such highly talented women. You're welcome. It was very informative and inspiring question. TOP submissions can be pilot scripts for any genre. Correct. Correct. Yes, that is yes, Celia. Drama, sci-fi, or sitcom, either one. Any specific criteria it must meet besides positive or uplifting material? No, no. So you don't have, okay, Celia. So you don't have to have the positive uplifting material. The when you receive feedback from my readers, they will give you the positive uplifting material. But if you want to have a positive uplifting material for your script, that's fine. I'm not gonna deny it. So whatever you want. But I just want you to understand that the constructive criticism of your script will be positive. It will be positive, creative, constructive, because I don't want you to receive a negative, criticism for your script. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help the reader, because the reader is learning as well. Even I do have professional readers also that come back and do a refresher course for readers, so that you all will know. And but whatever you want to submit, Celia, that's fine, okay? I just want to make sure that you know that the reader's feedback will be positive to you, okay? It will not be negative. All right, any more questions? Yeah. Doug, hi Doug. For the television outreach program, if there are 2 writers, does that count as 1 submission or 2? Meaning it would be get read by 2 separate readers. Okay, so Doug, if there are 2 or more writers, that can count as 1 submission. So when you fill out the form, okay, for the submission, or if you are able to win it free, it can count as 1 submission. So you can just pay it once, or it just count as, or you win one and it's 1 submission. Now you can submit as many scripts as you like, but it's just for 2 or more writers, it can count as 1 submission. We've had that before. We've had it even if they did a spec script for television. We had 2 writers for it, and they just paid the 1 fee, put both names on it. Both are recognized, okay? And if you both win, or if that script wins, excuse me, and it's 2 writers, you both have an opportunity to speak with a producer or writer whom I pull in, okay? So don't worry about that. All right, I hope I answered that greatly. Cool, yay. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Celia. Any more questions on that? Television outreach program. And as far as the Hollywood outreach program, and the high concept, both are feature lengths only. We only accept feature lengths, any the genre, especially for the Hollywood, any genre, okay? You can read more about them and what we're looking for as well. And it can be 2 or more writers, or the same thing with the television. If there are 2 writers for the Hollywood outreach, and if there's 2 writers for the high concept, then if the script wins, if there's a winning script, then both writers will speak with the producer or writer that we bring in, okay? So I hope that's helpful to you. All right, any more questions, or do you guys want me to give you the little task that you want to do to see if you can win? So let me know what you want to do. You guys ready, or you want me to just keep talking and talking and talking? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so to win a free script submission, if you guys want to win, and again, this is for either the television outreach program or the high concept screenplay program, or the Hollywood outreach program. So it doesn't matter which one you want to submit a script to. Again, the script has to be submitted before the deadlines. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is have a piece of paper and a pencil ready. So I want you, and this is only because I'm videotaping it. This is only now, June 13th, because today is my birthday, June 13th, 2020. So everyone on the call now, you are going to have until Sunday night, tomorrow, June 14th, 10 p.m. to submit this. I'm asking everyone to write I have a question. Okay. Oh, thank you, Desiree. Happy birthday. You're welcome. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for my birthday. So this is why I'm doing this for you guys. Okay, no one else, only you guys. Okay, so I want you to write 2 paragraphs. You're gonna be creative and write 2 paragraphs, but I want you to include the following, okay? And you don't have to include them all, but I need you to include a minimum of 4. And I'm gonna give you 6 things that I want you to include, okay? I'm gonna try and read them slow because I talk fast, forgive me, but I will reread them. Okay, again, so these are the 6 things that I want you to include in 2 paragraphs, and be very, very creative. Knock my socks off. The more creative you are, the more you win, okay? Or, you know, you win for me, and I will be the one reading it, and I will let the winners know. I'm gonna do you guys on social media and everything. I hope nobody has a problem with that, with just your name, and just tell them who the winners are, okay? The first thing I would love for you to put in there is think outside the box. Okay, number 1 is think outside the box. Okay, number 2 is Angela and Londy. And these are the 2 speakers, Angela and Londy. Londy is spelled L-A-N-D-I. Okay, I'll reread these again. Number 3, I want you to add is Scriptwriters Network. Okay, Scriptwriters Network. Number 4 is Mom. Just good old Mom, M-O-M. Okay. Number 5 is Miami Dolphins. Right. 5 is Miami Dolphins. And the last to bring it home is the last one to bring it home is, hold on, I had to change it because I can't use that one. The last one to bring it home is, I want to be very creative here. Let's say yachting, like boat, yachting, okay, or a yacht. How's that? Yacht or boat. All righty. So again, number 1 is think outside the box. Number 2 is Angela and Landy. Number 3 is Scriptwriters Network. Number 4 is Mom. Number 5 is Miami Dolphins. And number 6 is boat or yachting. Okay, boat or yachting. So you have any, excuse me, you have any questions on that right quick? Anyone has any questions? No questions? Any questions on anything about the 2 paragraphs and it must be done, or, oh, the email to send it to, if I didn't say it, is info, I-N-F-O, at scriptwritersnetwork.org. Okay, that's scriptwritersnetwork.org. Okay, I'm gonna send it there. All right. Oh, I have a question. Is there a word count on the whole thing? Feline is asking. No. No word count. Be creative. I'm looking for creativity. I'm looking for, I don't want to say heartfelt, but I want to say heartfelt. I'm looking for something that will say, you know, that will make me be like, oh, so this person can write. Let's get this person's script in so that we can see or help them get further or whatever. But that's what I'm looking for. I want you to knock my socks off. I want you to, you know, for those 6 things, again, you don't have to put all of them in, minimum of 4 at least, just to be creative. Just, you know, like I teach in the script analysis class, just, you know, and even though the girls came on, you know, today or whatever, you don't have to mention nothing about, and I prefer that you know, like, oh, they spoke yesterday at Scriptwriters Network. Okay, so I'm gonna throw that curveball into you for you. So that's something I want. I want it more creative than that. I want it more outstanding. You know, I hope I'm coming across as well. There's no word count, but 2 paragraphs, only 2, no more. You know, I don't want to read more than 2. A, I don't have the time, and B, I want to give you an opportunity, and I want to see from the 2 paragraphs how you write. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with them. Maybe not yet, but of course I would have to get you to sign an NDA if I do something with them. But I want this is just for me. This is to see. Now, I also want to know if you know. When you send it, you can just tell me like if you are have been with Scriptwriters or not, or you know before or not, or if you learn or who you learn with. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I want the paragraphs separate from your introduction about yourself, or you know if you want to tell me a little bit of paragraph about yourself or something about your writing, whatever. That's fine. What have you done? That's great. I'm looking forward to it. I love to read it. But the paragraphs, you can even say the test starts here, or the 2 paragraph starts here, because you know whatever. In your personal thing, you can go on to say you know why you want to win it, or you know I don't care. Just give me something. It's my birthday weekend. Give me something to read. Give me something to you know be excited about. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So any questions on that? No? Okay, so anybody have any questions on Scriptwriters Network, what we do, or any questions that I can help answer for you today while we are here? Okay. Oh my goodness, no further questions. All right, so, and we still have, it's 4:41. So what I'm gonna do is, because what I wanted to do, I really, those who know me, and I know, and Desiree will tell you this because she's one of the ones that know me. I personally really don't like talking about myself because I'm not important. It's all about Scriptwriters Network with me, how I can help you, how I can help people. I love to connect producers and writers, directors, executive producers, everybody who we work with. I love to connect those with people that's up and coming, that's trying to work. I even work with writers that have already been, you know, have written in writer's room, but you know, I don't want to say lost their way, but you know, haven't gotten anything. So some of those come back. I work with actors as well. So yes, I have a question. Yay. Okay, hi Desiree, woo again. And so I just like to help people. This is what Scriptwriters Network is about, me personally and for the organization. We're about helping you get writing, help you get to the next person. Scriptwriters Network, we don't mind working with people like Angela and Londy and Sandra and Jennifer Grisanti, those who knows her. Some of the other people that's on our website, other people that we connect with, that's promoting, that's sponsors. You know, it's the goal is the same, to help you to be a better writer, to get you to someone that can write you, that can help you. The producers and the writers that I just had, like I think it was last week, that came on and that I showed you the videos of. Let me show you some other ones. Hold on, share screen here. Oops. So we had the TOP also. I want to make sure you know that that was a television outreach. Hollywood outreach program. We also had winners, a winner, excuse me, in this year, which was, he spoke with Joe Stillman. Those who know, Joe Stillman wrote the Shrek movies. He's one of the writers and producers of the Shrek movies. And then I want to bring you to television outreach programs, just so you can understand all of these. I just did all the video calls last week. Joe Anderson, and again I showed you that, but Joe actually spoke to 2. Here's another winner. Joe spoke to Brian as well, because Brian was our 2017 winner. So they're you know, they come out, they're connected to us. A lot of the people They want to do this. They want to get back their time. So they're helping us out by coming and speaking to you. And they're doing this on this time. Mark Zaslow was another producer that spoke. So just to let you know, I work with these people. I love doing this. I love connecting with you. And they love taking the time to do it as well. Okay, so should you, win, be prepared to submit the script. The early bird is July 1st. Well, if you win, don't worry about it, because the last day to submit, I think, is the end of July. I think I scheduled it for all of them. I'm going to have all three of them working at the same time. It will be July 31st. So if you submit and you're one of the winners, then you have to make sure you submit your script before July 31st. Okay, so you can go ahead and refresh whatever you want to do before July 31st. Now, the only difference with me is, again, with ScriptWriters Network, we're training readers. I train readers. If you want to be a part of that next week, you can. I train readers, and I give them, which I have to stop. I can't do this now. I usually give them 4 weeks to read the script and to provide evaluation. This year I had to give 3 weeks because of everything that's going on, which I have a lot of repeat script readers that work with me, professional and non, that I've worked with, that I've trained. And so there's a lot of readers that's eager to read your scripts, just to let you know, and give you feedback. This is helping them as readers to be a better writer themselves. A lot of them say that it's just helping them. So even if you submit a script, if you want to learn how to read or be a reader, go ahead and, if you want to take the class with me next week, go ahead, you'll learn. And if you want to sign up to be a reader, then go ahead, sign up. I'll give all that information there. But also, if you want to, it'll even help you with your script that, I've done this class for the last, I've been president for 8 years. I've done it for the last, I think, 8 years. And I've actually went on location to teach this class. And also outside of ScriptWriters Network, I have people ask me to come and do it. So if you want to learn, it's just a way to learn, even to help better your script before you rewrite it, even if you're a winner, as well. So any questions before? Okay. So I hope I talk fast. So if you guys have a question, go ahead and put it through. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for everything. Really appreciate it. I hope that you get a chance, if you are not a member, if you have never seen our website before, I hope you get a chance to look at the website, look through it, to find out more information. Click on some of the stuff that I didn't go through. If you have questions, info@scriptwritersnetwork.org. You can reach. Sometime I'm the one that's answering the questions on there, if I have time. But otherwise, this weekend I will, because I want to read what you have, with the choice words that I gave you to put into your 2-paragraph, what do I want to call it? The mini script, whatever, description. So go ahead and send that to me. I'm looking forward to it. Again, knock my socks off. Really, really knock my socks off. Because here's the thing. Look, I know people, which, if you know me, I don't brag, but who knows what I would do with it? Who knows what your 2-paragraph would lead to, right? Who knows when we see each other what will happen? You never know. Just like Angela and just like Londy was saying, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. You got to take an opportunity. This is the opportunity I'm giving you. You can win it free. And this is the opportunity that I'm giving you. So grab hold of it and do something with it. So I want to see all of you guys do something with it. All right. Thank you, Jane, very much. And then thank you, Desiree. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for saying happy birthday. That's appreciated. So I'm looking forward to everybody, and we're going to sign off. Really appreciate you all for being here. And thank you so much. ScriptWriters Network, thank you. So if you have any questions, email us, all right? Thank you, and we'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.